Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Talking Tradesman. In the studio today, I have with me Sam Wilkes, who is a mental health advocate, a supporter of fathers' mental health, and also an author. So, first of all, Sam, massive thank you, mate, for travelling up to be in the studio with me today. Really appreciate your time.
No, thank you, buddy. Really appreciate it. It took me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to get up here, but hey, I'm really glad to be here.
Another
really
quality addition to the Welsh contingent.
The Welsh contingent, especially the accent. So I got to make sure I slow my accent down. The wife said, don't speak too quick, otherwise they won't be able to understand you. So I got to make sure I speak.
I've had many of your countrymen in,
have you?
mate. Yeah, I've had quite a few. So always enjoyable, enjoyable. But mate, I think first of all, maybe if you can introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then I know you've got a story to tell, so we'll get into that.
100%. Yeah. So I'm 36 years of age. I got a family. I got my son. I got my own son. I got 2 stepsons as well. So that's an interesting mix in the house, you can imagine. But I'm someone who's suffered now with mental health for 18 years. A traumatic experience happened in Thailand, which we'll talk about more in a bit now. And then it's the effects of then battling my mental health after that. But on assessing the situation, when I go back now, my mental health actually started a lot younger, to when it was like 3, when you start seeing little breaks and everything. And now the environment around you, how that has dictated the catalyst steps as you go forward and keep moving on. So yeah, it's been a really emotional journey to where I am now. A lot of people have said for a long period of time, you need to go and write a book, you need to talk more on this bit. I'm not quite ready. So if like 3 years ago, there's no way on God's earth I would feel confident enough in myself to come and do talks and to be open about mental health, because we spoke about it just before now. It's like standing in a room totally naked and hopefully no one laughs at you. Nobody laughs at you, but you still feel as if people are going to judge you, and that all comes down to the stigma of mental health, which is
100%, mate. It's a journey, isn't it? And there's that perception of vulnerability. Yeah. Fortunately, I think society is changing now and starting to accept vulnerability as a strength. But for a long time, particularly as men, we've been told that vulnerability is weakness, and it's that strong silent type is what you aim for. Unfortunately, that is changing now. You see it changing in the younger generations, but our generation, I'm a little bit older than you, Sam, in fairness, but I think anyone who's probably late 20s onwards now was probably subject to the old sort of like mindset, as it were, and it takes some work to break that down.
Yeah, it's a bit like generational trauma I talk about it.
Yeah.
So it's a big thing where, like my father, we'll talk about that as well. I've got a good relationship with my father now, but when we were younger, he wanted to be more like my friend than he wanted to be my father. So I was actually brought up from a male role model, my grandfather. So XL, so mine, uses the word love all the time, but again, strong-minded man. So a lot of those feelings then of trying to be the strong one, the mask that we talk about often, that's the one thing that really did play a big impact, especially all the way up until I went to Thailand. And then the mask, again, masks have no weight whatsoever. You'll normally wear a mask, and then the mask then will, when your back's against the wall, the mask will just totally disintegrate, and you just stood there. And when that happens, you were totally left bare. So yeah, it's, I think, and when I'm speaking to an awful lot of people now, a lot of it comes down to their parents and the relationships they had, how the emotional stability. And I think there's a massive responsibility for us as parents now, where we need to look now at the future generations and say, we need to break that stigma now, having those conversations. All my children know that I've got PTSD, general anxiety disorder, and I struggle because it doesn't excuse me from my behaviour, but they know if I'm struggling, they'll give me the space I need, and they know that the dad's going to be fine. And I think it's really, really important that they have those coping strategies as well. Two of my sons, they both suffered with, again, they do, children at this day and age, they both struggle with their mental health. My youngest son now, he's developed a lot of tics. He's only 10. And seeing the impact that that's having on me mentally, saying I haven't got no friends and I don't want to be here, these are words that a lot of parents are not told because they haven't got that relationship with their children. And unfortunately, when they get to like 19, 20 or late adolescence, their emotional stability is all over the shop, and then we start seeing these increase then in suicides and everything. So it's one of those things that I make sure that I'm fully transparent with my children, so they can be fully transparent with me. But a lot of people find it difficult to do that.
Yeah.
But it's one of the things that's really, I believe anyway, like my sons, if I know they're struggling, like the other boys call me Sam, can I speak to you? Or my youngest son now, Dad, I need to speak to you. And it could be a simple little thing of, you okay? But then what I'll do then is say, are you really okay? And then that's when they'll start opening up then and just saying...
You know what, mate? There's a huge respect for that. It's a beautiful thing to hear. Because I was reflecting on myself as you were saying that. Because I've got my son's 18. My daughter's, she'll be 13 in December, which is terrifying. It's something I've been working on or trying to work on myself, is allowing myself to be vulnerable in front of my kids, because I'm not, if I'm honest with you. I have always lived by that. I'm their father, so I'm there to protect them. Therefore, I must always appear strong in front of them. But with you saying that, it's really just triggered a thought process in me thinking, well, if they can't ever see me be vulnerable, then they're going to think that that's not the way to be themselves. So how can I expect, my own son to turn to me if he's struggling, if I've never shown him that I struggle?
And I think that's the big thing now, where you see an awful lot of parents, they don't want to show their emotions, so they'll wear the mask. And I think a lot of people say, I've spoken to an awful lot of people, I wear this mask, so I have 3 masks. I have the strong one mask, the joker mask, and the overachiever mask. They're the 3. But a lot of people wear them, but the difference is knowing when you wear them. So I'm not saying I don't wear my masks. They are hung up on a wall with their own individual hooks, and sometimes to protect people around me, I will use it. So if I do have an instant where I am having a full-on mental breakdown, and there's been a few of them, 2 really, really bad ones, then I will wear the strong one mask to protect them from seeing me that bad. It didn't happen once, it didn't happen in 2018, and they seen me at my worst, which again was very, very hurtful, because they'd see me that way. But it sounds mad, but grateful in one way, because they know that I'm not like this big, strong mentality monster, even though I come across it sometimes. And I think it comes across sometimes when I communicate and I talk about things, because I say things really just out there and open. But it shows that there's levels of really emotional instability, let's say. And then one of the biggest things I suffer with is self-doubt. And that's the one thing that is just rife within so many people, especially dads as well. Like, I'm not a good father, I'm not doing this forever. And it's just trying to lift that trend. But when we come back to children, your children need to know that it's okay to cry. Your children know it's okay, so that we are like superhumans to them, to our children. So if we show that we haven't got, and it's like our words that we use. So a lot of parents will say a word with not knowing the weight of that word carries. So they could turn around and say, stop crying, get on with it, man up, and all them things. And I've been guilty of it. I think everyone has as well. And we use them words not knowing what foundational bricks that we are laying on that wall. So when they get older, it all depends then how many words have they listened, and how high that wall is, and can it be knocked down or not. And if not, then you've missed your chance. That's got to go on to the next generation. There's an awful lot to think about it when you break it down and talk about it. But I think I speak to a lot of people, and they say, oh, I can't do that, I'm not going to show my emotions. But that's totally up to you. I can only ever say what has worked for me. Some people might turn around and say to me, I don't know, that's wrong. I think I would never speak my emotions. That's fine. But as being a father, that's how I feel. And especially not having that from a young age, even though my mother was an incredible human being, and my grandfather and everything, I still never talked about my emotions, and I never openly talked about them, and that manifested for years and years and years and years, which led then to...
I can resonate, Sam. I can resonate. In fact, yeah, I'm only recently really being able to do that, but I think even when I do talk about my emotions, I'm quite detached when I do it. It's almost like a third person perspective. But I can resonate with the childhood thing. It was exactly the same. I mean, I remember like my mum and dad split up when I was young, and I know, that for them it was all about them at that time. But there was never anybody that ever sat me down, asked me how I was feeling, was I okay, how did I feel? Never. It was get on with it, basically. But that resonated through childhood in general then, in life. It was just that, get on with it. There was never, I don't remember ever being asked by my parents how I felt about anything, if I'm honest.
It's a mad one, isn't it? I think that's where it all started for me, because it was a perfect place to start, really. So, for me, I was 3 years of age. My father he's an amazing person to a lot of people, but he always wants to be Peter Pan. He always wants to be this, like, I'm always young, and which is fab. But for me, it's having that kind of role model to look up to. And then my mother and father separated when I was 3. But what happened between like 3 and 6? My father would come down the house and he would watch like The Simpsons with me every single night, but then he would leave. But nothing was really explained to me. Even though I knew they separated, there was always this thing of, why is Daddy leaving? Why doesn't Daddy stay? Why isn't he there in the mornings? And you have this kind of self-doubt, then you're asking your grandfather, I'm saying, well, I had a dream last night that my mummy and daddy were together. And my grandfather's saying, look now, Sam, that's not going to happen. But there's all this uncertainty going around, and then I believe there was no, apart from my grandfather who I seen like nearly every single day, it was my mother in the house. My mother was the father and the mother. And I think now the old nuclear family's disappearing at a vast rate.
Yeah.
It's massive, and there's so many families out there now with the mothers just looking after their children. There's parents up with the father as well. And there needs to be at least 2 adults in a home environment playing a dual role. We know at the moment you've got like same-sex marriages, that's fine, but if you've got responsibility on one person trying to be the mum and dad, which is, it happens in the animal kingdom, there's always like the male and female, or is it alpha and omega or whatever. And my mother, as much as she tried to play the dual role in the home environment, to understand what it was like from a male perspective, to understand issues, she couldn't. And I think that played a massive role in me working things out from a young age. And so I think that kind of self-doubt, that's why I said I think my mental health started when I was 3, because there was cracks developing early, really, really early, and then you start shying away in yourself, and you have these kind of self-image doubts, oh, I don't understand myself, and so it kind of evolves, and then I get to 6 years of age, so you've already got those self-doubt thoughts in the head, and then we talk about how cruel children can be. Now, I was short, fat, ginger with a bowl-cut haircut, right? And nothing's really changed. I just haven't got any hair anymore, right? So nothing really changed.
Well, the bowl cut's back in now, Sam.
I have seen the
beef, the boss.
I've seen him. When I thought, I said, see if I was going back a few years, I wouldn't have been bullied.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was bullied horrifically from the age of 6 to about 9 years of age. You name it, being poke prodded and saying fatty and all that kind of stuff. I was held down the park with 2 people, which is quite mad now. I see him around now. I was held down and I was whipped with a windscreen a little bit in the park. And there was lots of people around me all laughing and joking and stuff. And I always remember that moment, and I'm on the floor literally like, and I only lived across the road. My mother must be in the back garden. I remember like screaming, like, help. And it's quite a sad world that, like, out of all them houses down there, I bet there had to be someone, there had to be some adult in that room and didn't go out there. So then you feel then as if no one's going to help you. So you've got the no father role model in the house. Then you've got this bullying aspect that kicks in as well. And it's just, you start having this total of just, I don't want to be you. I'm just worthless. And then from a young age, then you start having them suicidal thoughts from a young age. And that's something that children shouldn't be experiencing then.
That was so the first time you remember having a suicidal thought was when you were a child of around about 9. Is that right?
Yes.
Wow.
Because it's that emotional weight of, as much as I had friends, and I had friends as well, but because I was such a kind-hearted, and I'd like to think I was a very kind-hearted, emotional person, when people see that, there's 2 types of people. There's the ones who will give their energy to get energy back, or if I said, you look really good today, I feel good because I made you feel better. Or then you have the other people who will literally just to make them feel better. They want to make you feel like shit, and it normally comes from what happens at home with them. And yeah, so there was moments where you have them just total mix-ups of nobody wants to be my friend, nobody likes me, I'm fat, I'm overweight, I can't control anything, I'm not good at anything. that was reinforced when I done sport. I couldn't even play any sports. So I was like, always made fun of for being that kind of too emotional. Which I think now, and a lot of people say to me now, do you see them people anymore? And I say, yeah. And for a long period of time, I fucking hated them. Hated them with a passion. But now, the way I look at it now, and I think if you feed anger, I look at it as two wolves. So you'll have two wolves, so you must have viewed the sea, and you love, like, the way I look at it is you love, like, the positive wolf and the negative wolf. And then you can look back, then we talk again, is the past wolf and the present wolf. Whichever wolf you feed is the wolf
the one that grows,
which will grow and which will get angry. And I think now I look at them and go, maybe they don't remember, but they might have been dealing shit out in their own way. And unfortunately, I was in the way. And as much as I can if I put my emotions into that, then it's just going to impact me going forward. So it took a fucking long time for that to happen. And it was one of the reasons then, which took when I was 10 years of age then, I was lucky enough. My father played badminton. So I thought, I didn't want to play. I remember walking around the leisure centre. He was in the sports hall, just walking around the leisure centre, literally just crying for like an hour and a half because I just didn't know. Just this total, instability, mind instability of just emotions and probably where the first mask started being worn, which was the strong one mask, was starting to get developed. Like when people see me, yeah, no, I'm fine, yeah, fine. And then when I'm on my own, then it's just literally suicidal thoughts and don't want to be here and just constantly crying, and then you're rubbing your knuckles up and down the walls. My knuckles are covered with scars, like 10 years of age. Just because there's no emotional outlet. And I think it comes down to the fact of nobody asks. People will ask, you all right? And the automatic response back is, yeah, I'm fine.
Let's pause there a moment to say a massive thank you to this week's sponsors, Worcester. If you've used Worcester's brushes before, you'll already know they've got 170 years of making quality brushes and decorating tools that are built to last. Now, they've gone with a bold new look. Check out the new, fresh grey and red colour scheme across their sundries range. It's smart, it stands out, and it means you'll spot your kit on site in seconds. And it's not just a new look, you've got the same Worcester quality. In all the favourites, you've got the new decorating buckets and lids, the ever-popular Pelican paint scuttles, and all of the other things that make Worcester great, such as the Grip Tech and Flex Fit handles for comfort all day, grey, red, Worcester quality, built for decorators that care about their craft. Thanks again to Worcester for supporting the Talking Tradesman podcast. Now let's get back to the episode.
It's not until someone says, are you really okay? That's when it cuts deeper. And we don't have them conversations, especially with our children. We go, you all right? Yeah, fine. And then because it's a child, our issues, our parental issues are more important than their issues, when really it was no one's fault at the time, but just for someone to say, are you really okay? Do you want to talk more about it? And I probably would have talked, but that conversation was never apparent because I always answered with, yeah, I'm fine. Because I just deflected so well from a young age. And that if I could go back in time, that's probably the one thing that I would have been really open about and probably dealt with it back then. But I look at my kids now and I see, like my boy now, he's got tics and everything. And that's why I think it's very important to have them deep conversations, because I know the chances of him going to comprehensive now next year, people will literally, because people don't like people being different, and they will torture him mentally. And that's why I want to make sure I'm checking in so he has their mental health coping strategies where he can come and talk to me.
Yeah.
And feel prepared in himself that he can, if someone says to him, like we've said, even though it's not diagnosed, it looks an awful lot like you've got Tourette's. And I don't like labelling, but I've said he owns it. So now he's getting to the point where he goes, well, I got Tourette's, can't help it. And that's so brave to you, whereas when he started, it was like, people are making fun of me and I don't. And so it's all about that character building, just to be able to develop them coping strategies really early. And sometimes we think, well, what's the point in teaching my 5, 6, 7-year-old coping strategies? It's massively important. It's so important. Like in schools at the moment, I think this is one of the things when I meet up with Dr. Chris O'Connor now in the next week, is that I'll be saying to him that all schools, the first thing a child should be doing when they come in from their room, they could have like a traffic light system. You could have a green is fine, amber is something's not right, red is a warning system. Literally just have 3 cards in front of you, bum, bum, bum. And you know then, through the day, if it's green, you haven't got to follow anything up. If it's amber, then you know you can have a little conversation in class sometimes. If it's a red, then you know you need to be a bit more serious. And then grounding, breathing exercises. How important is the breathing exercise?
Oh, mate, I mean, it's a rabbit hole we could go down. Listeners of the podcast will know I've got strong opinions about the education system and what it is lacking in. I truly believe that some sort of psychology should be just fundamental. It should be as important as English and maths, because there's nothing more important than your own mind, because we all live within the confines of our individual minds. However we feel is how we feel. And that starts at a very young age. So the kids that are out there dealing with whatever their issues might be, that's their world that they're living within. And there's nothing more important than that in terms of, from an education system, they can look at it many ways, but not only just like welfare, but also if you want that child to perform at its best, then look after the mind first. It's like a race car, isn't it? You've got the car, but you make sure it's serviced and tuned and examined, and so it runs as well as it can run. We don't have that opinion of the kids in school, unfortunately. It's psychology, mentality, stuff like that. Appears to be brushed under the carpet. I must admit, I've been out of the education system for quite some time, but my own children that are within it, it's not a concern. It's to me, the education system in the UK needs a massive overhaul. It's a production line. That's all it is.
That's why I have this conversation with people. One of the questions I ask, well, I'm really eager to ask a lot of people as well, is that, do you think that the education system is doing enough with mental health? And when we talk about Mona, as I go through my story and everything, when it first started when I was younger, this was like non-existent. But what happened is that I started developing, before I went into comprehensive, I was in a summer school for the summer. And because I didn't really have a summer, I was a bit slow and behind on stuff as well, on my English and maths and everything. So my mother thought it'd be a good idea to go and do a summer school, just to get a bit more experience before I went to comprehensive. Yeah, it was good, it was fun, but I then started developing, which I know now, go back, I now knew that I was having like small anxiety attacks and panic attacks, and I'd convinced myself I had a brain tumour. Totally convinced myself. I convinced everyone. I had CT scans, I didn't go to school, it was comprehensive, missed the first 3.5 months of comp, because I was down the hospital, they had to do brain scans, and I was thinking I was having these like phantom headaches and everything as well. And they literally, not one person back then turned around, they said it could be SAD, it could be a seasonal disorder, where you go into October, November, and you're feeling down and everything. But no one of them said this could be an anxiety attack or anything. So it just shows how far we've come from a basis of understanding mental health. But in regards of looking at someone and going, right, their mental stability of a child is way more important than learning how to add 2 on a piece of paper.
1,000,000%.
It blows my mind. So when we're in school, they send homework home on Seesaw and everything. I don't know if you've got that back here. Like have.
Yeah, I've seen little bits, mate. I mean, if I'm honest with you, so my son lives with me, but he came to live with me at 15. So he was kind of out of the education system. My daughter's in it at the moment, but she lives with my ex-partner. So in terms of I hear her say these things, but I'm not massively involved with the homework and the sort of systems that the education system use. My daughter's very aware of my position on the education system. So fortunately, in a positive element, because we've had those conversations around the importance of mental health and what I believe are the important things to be teaching the kids opposed to what they are being taught. So
it's an hard one. My middle son, he has them kind of opinions as well, and it was hard to try and say, look, you need to go to school, but you don't have to be like the top of grafter. It's like my younger son now is like homework, and they go in, well, you don't do any homework weekends. I know. And they're like, well, he needs to do homework weekends, he's falling behind. Yeah, but he's in school Monday to Friday. Weekends character building. That's where we do things, and we go out and we'll go bird watching, or we'll do I used to coach a lot of football, so you do stuff me being around with adults and everything. Now I look at him now compared to a lot of children his age. His maturity level is like one of a 14-year-old because I've been able to instill beliefs and coping strategies that lots of kids now. Don't get me wrong, he's 10 years of age. He's having like mood swings and everything, but in regards of like when he's out in public and everything, he's just like having like a 14, 15-year-old really mature person. Because I really do believe that it's really easy to turn around to your children and go, there's an iPad. It's very, very easy. We live in a world where we've all got our own problems, so we'll just give things. And with kids, children not going out anymore, and with social media, you can go on, can't you? Do you know what I mean? There's so many things now which are around where I wasn't young or when you wasn't young. They're totally exposed to the world. I just come off from a play scheme, 4-week play scheme. There's literally in there, there's 9-year-olds with iPhone 15s and everything. They've all got WhatsApp groups. And I'm going, it's all good to monitor that, but you can delete messages. I just think that we're not doing enough. And it's nothing to do with parents. There's no guide to parenting. I'm not saying I'm a better parent than anyone else. I'm not, really ain't. But as a society, I believe that we are definitely failing this generation. If we think now, like we've got generational trauma we have now as us. They might not have generational trauma. They're going to have different types of trauma, which is going to be from social acceptance, not understanding who they are. There's so many aspects to it.
The thing is, Sam, they're the lab mice at the moment, because they're the first generations that are coming through. There's that first generation that have been exposed to social media from point one, that has been around since their existence. I'm so blessed that I knew life prior to social media. I went through my school system without any social media. Phones had just started to land. I think I remember getting my first mobile phone when I was in sixth form. So I'd gone through childhood without that contact. But our kids now are growing up with it as the norm. And the reality is we haven't seen enough generations that have come through to understand the impact that that's going to have. So to me, there's going to be a myriad now of mental health conditions, mental health spikes around certain things due to the exposure and upbringing with social media and technology. And it's evolving so quick that the generation that comes through that were like Mark 1 social media, by the time, I mean, give it another 20 years, you look at the likes of VR and stuff like that. How's that going to affect a kid's mentality when they can literally immerse themselves in a world of their own design? You know, obviously these technologies can be used for great good, but also who's monitoring? It's the guinea pig generation. Yep. There's this whole new society and way of life that's emerging through technology now. And the reality is we just don't know. We don't know how it's going to affect those kids. And unfortunately, the only way we're going to find out is by watching from the sidelines. And as a parent, I'm sure you can understand that. That's fucking terrifying.
It scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
It scares the shit out of me because I'm thinking if I had issues and I'm trying my hardest with someone who's struggled for a long time with a lot of issues and a lot of baggage, with someone I feel now is really prepared mentally and understood mental health. And sometimes I think I haven't got a fucking clue what I'm doing. That scares the shit out of me. Not just for my kids, but for the fact there's a lot of parents out there who haven't experienced the things that we've experienced, who are quite in denial or haven't had the opportunities to have those negative experiences. They haven't got the scars that a lot of us have got. And yet, what's going to happen to their children? And I think that's why you always look outside the box, and it's the generations coming forward. And I think that's why we need to move from more of an academic, because like you look at maths and everything now, right? Not everyone's going to be a mathematician. We've all got iPhones. People use calculators.
True. Yeah. Again, the world is changing. There's no need to do long form subtraction and arithmetic.
No, it's the same with English as well. So so one thing with my son as well is that he struggles writing his writing words down and everything and writing sentences. Put him in front of a PC and he can spell no problem at all, which now you look as dysgraphia. So there's all these different things coming out at the moment which explain a person's like understanding and knowledge, but we're still back in those like olden days of an educational system. And I think we need to start looking more at what we can do to protect our children going into there, because again, there's a reason why you've got suicide rates are always on the up, and they're going up and up and up, especially with men. It's not just men, it's women. It attacks everyone. Doesn't matter what race or ethnicity you are, doesn't matter. It's growing at a fast trend, and you've only got to look at the way society is at the moment. And that's why it's down to us, not down to the children who are 10 years of age. If I was, when I was bullied, we go back to when I was bullied, the bullying stopped when I closed the door.
Yeah.
If I was around now,
the door would never shut.
And I wouldn't be here. I can categorically tell you there is no way on God's earth, because the two sanctuaries I had was my bedroom. There was no online. There was no like online bullying, or like when you're gaming. I game an awful lot. That's my escapism. I could go on there, play single player games. My son turns around and goes, "Why are you playing so many single player games?" It's escapism, Johan. It's totally escapism. I can sit there in my own little world. He's like, "Well, I want to go on Fortnite and everything." But then you hear him with his friends on Fortnite. They're continuously arguing and communicating. So the bullying continues even when you're in a safe place.
Yeah.
And I can categorically say for an absolute fact that if I was subjected to the level of bullying I had outside, there is no way on God's earth I would make the point I am now, which is terrifying.
Yeah,
it is.
And the thing is, Sam, if I'm honest with you, mate, it's never coming back. The life we lived, the childhoods we had, they're gone. They're done. It won't come back. And I've experienced the same as you with my kids. I mean, again, it's difficult to get into my personal circumstances, but I haven't got a lot of control over what they're exposed to and what they're not. I can only firefight it afterwards. But the same thing, you're caught in that knife edge of, do you separate them from what society now is? Because the world that our kids are growing up in now is not our world. No. Like it's a new world. So if you then try and impose our morals and values and our childhood on a modern day child, you're actually taking them away from their social group, their social circle, society as it now is. Is that actually worse than allowing them to operate in what society is becoming? And this is the, dichotomy of being a parent, isn't it? It's like,
it's a double-edged sword.
What do I do? Yeah.
It's a total double-edged sword. If I look at my oldest son, he was, again, Geordie shows and like social media and da-da-da. My middle son, because they're both stepsons. So when I went in, my oldest son was coming up 9, and my other son was coming up 7. So when he went in as well, a lot of the fundamental things which were like instilled, not in a bad way, but different to how I would structure things and everything, he'd learned a lot of things. So he has like all social media and everything, and he's really struggled with self-identity as well. He's really, really struggled with them things. Whereas the middle son, he hasn't got social media. He hasn't got Snapchat. He hasn't got YouTube. He's actually got, which, because we talked about how he is with his mentality and everything, and we have these really deep, open conversations, even from age like 14, 15. He's got a limit on his phone, so he knows how long he can go on social media for and everything, which then I look at then the stability then of, and I know every person's different as well, so it's like a case study in one way. You look at the stability then of the middle son as well then. So what I do now is go, right, until you have the emotional understanding of what social media is. Like, we use social media when we're doing this now. This is a form of media. Yeah. We're doing this in a positive aspect. But there's an awful lot of social media out there. You're going to look at, like, on TikTok, there's something called box battles. And I was sat there, and I was comparing to what I'm doing now compared to what they're doing. I'm not saying what I'm doing is right and what theirs is wrong. But there were two people, literally, to get their viewers, and they're literally just battering each other, continuously offending each other, so their audience then will send them more gifts, and they get higher and higher and higher and higher. And I'm sat there going, more people, and they had something like 2,000 people watching, and then you'll have someone then talking openly about their mental health and using it to try and better themselves, and they might have 5 listeners. But to me, that's the current issue with the world.
We're attracted to negativity, mate. I mean, it's to play devil's advocate, to caveat what we were saying. I mean, I'm extremely concerned the impact of social media and technology on our kids. I really am. To caveat that, the other side of it is we were also talking about how, like, we didn't have the examples of people that talked about their emotions. Now, kids have got this wealth of knowledge at their fingertips. So maybe they have got a parent that isn't particularly expressive about their emotions, but they can do some research and education and find people that are. So there is positivity to be found, but it's like I think there's an idea really that social media is this evil entity, when in reality a lot of the time it just magnifies what we look for. Yeah. So like I've got a perfect example of that, because I've got say Instagram, I've got 3 different things going on. I've got my personal account, private life, I've got a business account for my decorating business, and I've got the podcast. And if I just click on like the For You page equivalent of Instagram, so like say random reels, what it shows me is so different for each one. You know, the podcast page, it's all mental health, primarily positive. The decorating page, DIY hacks and all that kind of thing. My private page, ashamed to say, it's generally like fighting or car crashes or races or fast cars or whatever it might be, luxury holidays. And when you actually zoom out on that, that's like, actually, it's just amplifying what I'm thinking, you know? So there is, again, I think we're talking about bringing mental health education to schools. Maybe people need to be educated on social media and the way that it works and the way that it's used, because it's not going away.
No, massively. I think that's the dangerous thing. And when we talk about mental health, and where we get that point is we just need to be aware. I think that's the biggest thing, is awareness as a parent, and responsibility we have of just handing like an iPad to a child or handing a phone to a child, of what are we actually doing, because you are actually giving them something that they can go out and seek information. But what information are they seeking?
Endless information, mate, as well. That's the thing. There's no limit to it. It's endless.
And that's the scary thing. Do you know what I mean? You can search up anything. And I kind of look at like a child, like you're a blank cloud. You've got the nature-nurture form of things, and when you look at what their environment's like, or if they were born like it, whatever. But it all comes down to information. A child is still a child at the end of the day. And if you are ploughing negative information, if you are ploughing the wrong information, they believe that's true to fact, and then they use role models, and it's a scary time to be a parent, especially if you've and if you've been through trauma as well. You naturally want to protect then your children from the trauma as well. And I think what happened to me is saying that I was bullied and everything. And I've said, look, to my son, I've said, look, Dad was bullied horrifically, and you know Dad struggles, but look what Dad's doing now. And I know a few of them, what they've done and stuff. No point names and everything. This is years ago. At the end of the day, they were only a year older than me. So what was I? They were 8 and I was 7. It sounds like normal play yard bullying stuff, but it doesn't matter when you're young. You're still damaging someone's self-esteem, and that's the biggest thing. So again, as parents, I think it's just making sure we're having those conversations with our children, even if we think that there's nothing wrong. And I would much rather offend my son, totally offend him, make him feel uncomfortable, right, to know that he's okay, than to just take his word for it when I know that he's literally 10, 11, 12 years of age, and he hasn't got he hasn't got the emotional stability for me to really probe deeper, because they won't. They think, I don't want to put... again, they do. Their hormones are everywhere. So it's a difficult one. I was lucky because at the right time, my father was playing badminton in the leisure centre, as I said earlier, and he went off when he was playing in the leisure, and I was walking round, and he said, well, do you want to knock? And I was like, I don't want to knock. And one day I said, I'll have a knock. And honest to God, as soon as I went on the court, it was as if all my anger was just totally let out, and I was in this total own world of myself. And I took to it like a duck out of water. And what was mad over them years, from the age of 10 until 17 and a half, I won multiple national titles, travelled most over Europe, won the Blind and Gwent Young Male Sports Personality, can run up to Mike Ruddock in the main sportsmanality after you just won the Grand Slam and stuff. So all of that then, all that negativity that I had built then from a young age, I'd found salvation then on a badminton court. But the frightening thing is, about it all, is that all that success didn't come from a positive place. It came from a negative place. It came from a space of, I'm going to prove you wrong, that I can do something, which is good to a lot of people because you will achieve things. However, you will literally, again, become down to that feeding the wolf. I'm not doing it for myself. All the medals, now I can't stand looking at the sport. I can't stand looking at my medals. The medals in a bag. I don't even display them upstairs in the attic. Because when I look at them, it totally reminds me of trying to prove, ploughing all my energy, diving on a court, and the manic behaviour of like school lunch times. I never had school lunch time, my friends. I would be in the sports hall training for an hour and a half. Total madness. I couldn't even learn to skip because one of the things to do was skipping. And in my head was like, I'm a failure, I'm a failure, I'm a failure, I'm a failure. So I got in the backyard and I went from not being able to skip to matter like in 7 days later, slashes all over my legs because obviously where you just keep spit blood and everything, where I could do double skips and triple skips and I could do all the really, really well. But that's all the success come from a negative aspect. Whereas you see people who love the sport and they love doing what they'll do and it comes because they enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. The moments that I had of the success of winning the trophies at the time are really like, oh, fabulous and everything. But as an adult, when you look back at it, you know that a lot of that come from the negative thoughts, anger, disapproval, self-worth. They all come from there, not like, oh, you're proud of me. And I think that's where the overachiever mask comes in then, because even till recently, till Thursday just gone now, everything has been to prove that I'm not a fuck up. Everything. And just so again, we go all the way back until 6 years of age, and those feelings of maybe, go back to three if you want, saying, is it my fault my mum and dad split up and everything? Obviously it wasn't. My father had an affair. Obviously it wasn't at all. But still, you feel it's your fault. And then you're told, then you're bullied horrifically, you're not going to achieve anything, you have suicidal thoughts, even from a young age. And then you go through all that as well. So it's all come from that kind of negative, trying to prove you wrong, and all the way up until now, even like aspects of today. Do you know what I mean? You're still trying to prove whether you're a fuck up and whether what you've done in your life, which is, to a lot of people, it doesn't matter if someone says to you, you're not, you're really proud. And even people say to me now about like being out there and doing these talks, writing the book, saving people's lives and everything. I can't stand someone saying to me, you're a hero, I'm proud of you. I think, no, I'm not. I'm just that average person, because there's always that overachiever and self-doubt in my mind that literally will suck it out. It's learning to live with it. It's one of those things that it's not going to just disappear. It's going to be there till the day I die. But it's learning how to live with those thoughts. Go, right, but you're not. But if you said to me now, you're a fucking failure, Sam, it wouldn't matter if I saved 1 million people. That thought that you just said will fucking destroy me. And that's something that even now, and all the coping strategies I put in place, that's the one final piece of the jigsaw is trying to suss out, which is incredibly difficult. So it's that generational, institutional, like, trauma, basically, from a young age, how those bricks, and we come back to being a child as well, those bricks that were laid from a very young age, that wall is so fucking high, I'm there with a sledgehammer at the bottom, smashing that fucking wall, and still it won't topple. So it's really working hard now to try and break it down, and that comes from what we're doing now, is communicating.
It's really powerful, mate. Yeah, really powerful what you just said. I'm taking it in as you're saying it, because I can resonate with a lot of it as well. So a lot of what you're saying is making me think about myself. Yeah, really powerful. And
that's the growing message I have a lot of people, I think, when I have... And I think people say, well, you've got such a good grasp on things. And it's literally because for years and years and years... My mother seen it a long time ago. She said, you can do way more, and you don't understand the value and how you can communicate and how you break things down. And I think that's by literally living in your mind continuously. And that's where it's been. It's literally just being honest now, an internal battle war. So you've got all these feelings now, which you got this, I'm a success and everything. So if we go now from being that bullied child who thinks their mother and father split up when they were younger, not really explained as well, then that relationship you have with your father isn't the best as well, because he's there but he's not really there. He does things for me but he's not that role model father and everything. Then you've got the old grandfather mentality where he's more of a, right, you got to get up, you got to be in work and all that kind of stuff. Your head is just totally fucking screwed. You don't know what left from me right. My mother's doing everything she can to protect me and shelter me. And then I get to 18 years of age, and I never had natural talent at badminton. It was literally just, I would throw myself on court. And we talk about, like, people say it's just badminton. But even with the speed of badminton as well, if there was a shuttle, I would dive head first, smash my head on the floor to get the shuttlecock, and people would be like, what the fuck is he doing? And it was all down to the thing of, you won't beat me. You won't beat me. You will not. Literally, it's taught me, which has helped me to a degree. It's probably helped me one of the main things of why I've survived and I'm not dead. It's probably those kind of, I won't let it beat me. But I overheard a conversation with my mother and uncle. And if you can imagine my mother being a single parent, badminton, living in the valleys, you're always kind of classed all the way through that kind of sport kind of thing as being valley trash, really. And people don't see the natural worth in some people as well back then. And there was no really sponsorship opportunities. My mother, as we do as parents, we do everything we can to make sure our child has the best of everything. Trainers are 120 quid a trainers. You go in through things, you're rubbing your soles. Rackets are 250, 300 pound a racket. You have 3 of them. You got the European trips you're going around as well. So my mother was a single parent. Yes, I had my money off my father monthly for the CSA and stuff like that, and he did help out. He did have me on a Wednesday and Friday, but again, and she was trying to run a house. Luckily, it was only just me, but she'd got herself in debt. And I remember when I won the sports personality, Mike Reddock was on the Titantron because he couldn't be there wherever, and I remember his words. He come on, and I come run up to him, and he come on. He said, "Most important thing in life that you got to give it like a saying." He said, "Most important thing in life is family. Never undervalue the power of family." And then 2 months later, after that, he'd stepped away from Welsh rugby, and he'd said that it was down to family and everything. And those words kind of stuck in my mind. And I remember saying, "She's done all this for me. I need to do something for her." But there's 2 ways to look at that, because I failed. To me, even though I hadn't, I'd failed. Because I failed my mother then, because she got herself in debt because of me. So then you got those internal feelings of failure again then. So it's against being restilled. Rung my doubles partner, and it's quite mad, my mixed partner, which is like when you play with a man and a woman, my mixed partner, Rachel, she's married to Sam Wilkes, which is the Welsh, he was captain the Lions and everything, which is mad.
I'm going to pause there to thank this episode's sponsors, Abode Academy. Abode offer practical-based spray courses in Wiltshire and Manchester. They teach airless spraying, kitchen and furniture spraying, UPVC spraying, special effects including metal and workshop refurbishment courses. I myself have been on their airless course and I really enjoyed it. They teach in small groups, so it's a laid-back environment and very hands-on, loads of time on the sprayers. Their courses are approved by the Construction Industry Training Board, otherwise known as CITB, so you know you're getting good quality training. They offer full aftercare support and have their own range of spray equipment, which is top quality at affordable prices, and the aftercare they give is nothing short of amazing. If you're thinking of getting into spraying, you can check out their website at www.abodeacademy.co.uk, or you can search them up at Abode Academy on Instagram, as they post loads of helpful spraying content with tips and tricks. Thanks to the team at Abode Academy for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Let's get back to the episode.
But I rang them and said, look, I need to quit and everything. They were going to university, so I stepped away. They didn't really get it at the time, and I didn't want to go into much detail about what had happened to my mother and everything, so I just need to step away, because again, you don't really want to expose. My mother, when she watched this, we'd open, it's in the book, and we talk about the problems. Again, Your past doesn't define who you are as a person, and it was for the right reasons, and they didn't really get it. And then within a month after then, there was this rumour that spread around Welsh badminton that I was a drug addict living in the valleys. Like, don't know to this day where it come from, but what people do, they don't deal with, or maybe something is wrong. They need to speculate. why has he dropped all this and everything? And it comes on the fact of just being valley trash, which is a really, really sad world to live in. And I grow a lot of resentment towards that, which then, again, filtered into being a fuck up and stuff. So you go from, so all of this kind of stage, the young stage, this is what I call, until we go, when we talk about Thailand, the next bit now is till just after Thailand, all of this now is the denial stage. We've identified now, just by talking, there's an issue. There's been an issue since you were young. But because you're wearing a mask and everything, you're not talking about it. There's nothing wrong with it. You don't even know where it is. You had a breakdown before you went to school. It's been distanced. So it hasn't been picked up at all. Then why is he having all this success? Because again, we love talking about successful stories. We love talking about that, but sometimes you can't wait to see someone fall. And we're not, and then the catchment after then. And because I developed this kind of strong mentality, and I'm 18 years of age, I'm naturally seeking now, because all I've had is like, you were mega, you were brilliant, and you were fab, you've won this, you've won that. So you've created this like ball around you, which is totally artificial, and all you got to do is just pop with a balloon, and that's how fragile it all is. So instead of just living like the normal life, I think, I tell you what I'll do, I'll go travelling. Now, a normal person would go travelling to Australia, they go in a group of friends, or if I didn't do that, I thought I'll take myself to Thailand. One of my mother's friends, they had communications with an orphanage up there as well. And I thought, what I'll do, I'll go to Thailand, I'll work in an orphanage, I'll get some 3 months good experience, it'll look amazing on my CV, giving up my own time to do like a missionary work. I'm not religious at all, right? So we'll do some missionary work out there. So I said my wife, my mother, she went, I don't think it's a good idea. And I said, no, mega. Go out there and I'll island hop down through Koh Samui and down through in Malaysia and then end up in Australia, meet a few people in Australia and come back in a year. Now, when I think back at it, it's a fucking crazy idea. Because you didn't have you didn't have like social media back then. You didn't have the active freedom of like FaceTiming. Information relayed back and forth was so difficult. We had Bebo back in the day. Do you know what I mean? You didn't have
the Bebo.
Bebo, we talked about that yesterday. So you haven't got that information back and forth. You can't just go on the phone and ring.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different world. So people who listen to this now go, well, I could do that now. Yeah, but you couldn't do that going back in 2007. You didn't have those FaceTime. So literally being in Thailand felt on the other side of the world. You could be in Australia now and you can talk face to face, text messages,
Crazy,
we take it for granted how much that free transformation of information, you know what I mean? That is so taken for granted now of what it was like back then. So my father was against it. He said, I don't think you should go. And being me, I was like, no, I want to go. So we had this massive leaving party when I went away, which was again feeding that ego that you got to do it and this is something you need to do. So by having a leaving party, not just packing stuff and just going and saying I'm just going to go for 2 or 3 weeks, you've committed yourself now. You've written a formal document on the line. I am committed to doing a year away from all my family. Never done before, mind. Never done before. Year away in a strange land, dealing with kids in an orphanage and stuff like that. No, it should be easy. Be a fucking breeze, man. No problem at all. It's not, is it? And I remember going to the airport and my body, I literally remember my body, honest to God, my family were behind me and I could feel my mother and she was embracing me before I went and she was like, when I look back now, it's as if like someone was literally naturally just pulling me back and my feet were solid to the floor and I was like those thoughts going, you shouldn't be doing this. I'm like, no. Or automatically now overriding my mind saying, you got to do it because you got to prove them wrong. You got to do the next big thing. But the internal love around you was going, don't go. And even that moment, it didn't feel right. It just didn't. When I look back, it didn't. My father didn't want to go. My father didn't even. He came down my bungalow in the morning, didn't want to say goodbye to me, because he just said, "There's something wrong." And my mother knew there was something wrong, but she wanted to do again what was best for me. And being the strong-minded person I was, and wearing the mask, because I already now mind, we'd gone from 8 years of age, and now we're up to the point now we're at 18. You've had a good 9 to 10 years of developing that strong one mask. So you're pretty fucking good at it now. Of like, nah, fine, there's no problem at all. But secretly you are like, but the funny thing is though, you don't know that you're wearing the mask. And those feelings inside you, you're not really breaking, but something in the back of your head is literally, it's like someone's banging or like scramming down the door, like, fucking stop, trying, let me out, and you've got so many of these walls just built up in front of it that you can't hear it, but you get these feelings where you feel, that's the only way I can try to explain it. And I done it, so I went out there, again, it was, the family I met out there was a transition, so I went to Bangkok, stayed in their accommodation. It was lovely. It was like a villa, right? Living the dream. It was like, I had a massive, like, triple sized bed lying in, all the food I could eat and everything. And then I was there for a week, and then they transferred me over then to Pattaya, which, when I look back now, Pattaya, doing the Vietnamese War, is, if a lot of people go there, people say go to Thailand. There's this room where they go out there and they go shagging lady girls and boys and all that stuff and prostitutes. And a lot of Thailand is prostitution, a lot of it out there in Pattaya, because a lot of people from Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai come down. They can't make money through stuff up there. So they'll come down, they'll make money. People from Phuket and the lower parts of Thailand, when they haven't got commercialised, they'll come up as well. So the only way that they can make money is literally through prostitution and sending the money back. Now that's a really, really sad thing. And a lot, even now I see a lot of people, I'm not, if anyone's watching and they go and do it, fine, that's each your own. But then I understand the reasons why these people do it, because I've seen, this isn't commercialised, the next bit of the start story, this is like the cold hard truth of what people go through. And knowing that, and like there's some streets, I call them soys, like Soy 9, there's like 300 prostitutes in the street, like. You get old men all dripping all over them and stuff, and I done one walk down the street as we went there, because they were like showing me around the streets and everything, and I've never felt so, I'm not going to use the word sick, because I can understand what they were doing, but I've never felt so sad knowing that every single one of those girls were literally just selling their bodies to give money for the family back home, and yet they'd have people literally just like dribbling and drooling over them and making laughs and jokes, and it's just, maybe I'm different and maybe I'm too nice, but I just think that's just so fucking, they didn't want to do that.
I understand, mate. I'd be exactly the same. Yeah, it's exactly that. When you're an empath, you see the person, not the job, as it were, to call it a job, but you see the person behind the person that stood on the street, like you say, selling themselves. And there's, I don't think anybody would choose to do that if they didn't have a whatever reason it is. I mean, I'll say that there's maybe some out there that actually genuinely enjoy it as a job, and fair play if that's the case.
That's fine.
But I think in that world, there's a hell of a lot of a proportion that are either there, they're forced in one way or another, whether it's financially forced or actually physically forced. So yeah, it's a dark world, mate. It
is, and I think that's perfect word, dark world. When we went to the orphanage, then it was run by pastors, Pastor Dan and Pastor Fred, and amazing people, very religious. And I didn't really know this before I went out there. There was a lot of religious, and I'm not a religious person. I really ain't. I'm more now, like the kind of things I talk about, I'm more now spiritualist, I say, just from the experiences I've had, especially in the latter part of this in Thailand. But so all the children in the orphanage, they'd all been like found on the streets, so they'd been sold into the sex trade and stuff like that. So some of the kids, a lot of the kids, nearly almost of them, had all been sexually abused and stuff, not through the orphanage, they'd saved them. But hearing their stories, which was just traumatic of what they'd been through. Like one boy was 2 years of age and he was sold at the age of 2 by his mother to make money, and he'd been passed through sex like 46 times. And every morning he'd wake up and he'd put a massive smile on his face and say, "Good morning, Sam." And then you comparing then your problems to his problems, thinking, now what fucking right does that give me to be mourned? For a long period of time, that really scarred me, because I held that in a lot of, like, you should be guilty and you shouldn't be like this. However, what it does now, though, it does give me an incredible strength. I go around and even in work, people go to me, "You're always smiling." Always take me back that one boy. I'm smiling because he can smile. It's not that I got no right, but sometimes we think that our lives, and that comes down to our ego and our self part then, that there are people out there who've got literally fucking nothing. Like these kids then, we done the refuge work then. So the slum work, when I was in the the orphanage, I'd be doing like English maths and everything, but one of the stuff we had to do was like voluntary work out in the slums and stuff. So we do refuge work. So we take out so we went out this one slum. It was just, when you haven't experienced it, I mean, like lots of people, they'll go, you see like on Children in Need and everything, and they see celebrities go out there, and people do it and they get like empowered by it. But at this stage now, I am a person struggling with mental health that nobody knows about. I've got self-image problems. I've got all these issues which are literally just they're stored in this box at the back, and you've got this fucking beast inside now, clawing to get back out, and you keep pushing him back to the end, this building. All these things now, all they're doing is just feeding this thing now, which is just growing inside me. And a lot of the kids out there, obviously, the way that our life here is different to out there, especially out in the slums. A lot of the kids as well, they could even be sexually abused in these villages, and you know these things, and you can't do fuck all to help. You're 18, and again, it takes you back then to that vulnerable child that you were when you were young, and again, those thoughts come in, and what starts happening from that moment is that the way I kind of looked at it is like, you've got a weight vest on, and you add a weight, and you start getting heavier to walk. So then 3 or 4 days later, then we go and do refuge work out in the prisons. And the prison cells are literally not bigger than this room, probably. Say half the size of this room. So say people who know you, like 15 foot by 15 foot. And in that room, you'll have over 45 to 50 people in that room, all literally just stood up like sardines. The smell is putrid smell. Because again, the sanitary system out there is like holes in the floor where they poo in the floor and the drainage system. It's nothing like urine and everything, and you can just imagine 45 men who haven't washed, feces smelling, sweat, BO, was horrific. And they were giving out Bibles and giving readings and stuff. I don't believe in all that. I don't, unfortunately, I don't. And what can I do? And there was this one man. He was at the back. He had blonde hair, really, really thin. His clothes, he had like a shirt on. He was kind of like, not torn, but he just looked dirty, really dirty. And he must have clocked that I was an English speaker, and he came racing over towards the bars. Help me. And I was like, okay, what's the matter? I found out he was a Danish man. And whether it was true or not, you can only take it by face value for what someone thinks and what someone says. But he said, and I knew that it'd be a problem, if you have a visa and your visa runs out, within 2 days they know who you are and they'll just come and get you and they put you straight in jail. Right? So you'd either have to go to Laos or to Vietnam or Cambodia to renew your visa and come back in. There's a certain period. And he said that was the issue. Now, whether it was true or not, I can't vouch on that. But he was begging me, and I mean begging me, looking me in the eyes, and he was going, please help me. So I'm looking to my left, looking to my right. How can I help him? How can I help him? No, can't help him. Can I have a phone call? He's going, can I have a phone call? I'm saying, can you have a phone call? No, can't have a phone call. And they give me a Bible, and I'm like, and he just like looks at me, and I what do I want a fucking Bible for? I want a phone call. All I need is a phone call. They won't give me a phone call. And I'm going, I can't help you. So you feel worthless again.
At 18 as well.
And he, honest to God, right, his eyes now, right, if I go back to that point and I can see his eyes, and no, like I've worked in hospitals where you see like people who passed away and stuff, and we've wrapped the bodies and taken them to the morgues like that. That's where it comes from, my nursing background. And they talk about that kind of death look and everything. Honest, I could look now, if I can close my eyes, I can see how his eyes went from hope to just fucking despair, because he knew that I couldn't help him. And he just literally, like, in that moment, he just disappeared and just went back in the crowd. And I don't know to this day if he's alive, if he's dead, and it's against years, I don't have a clue. But it was that total feeling of total helplessness. But to someone who had faith in everything, that's fine, because, and again, that's people's beliefs, right? I never question people's beliefs. But if you haven't got that belief system, and you don't believe that God's going to save them, God's not there, then you have nothing to go off. They believe that they've been there and they've done God's job because they've spoken the version of the Bible and everything, which is perfectly fine. That's how you believe and that's your beliefs. But if you haven't got those beliefs and you've got nothing to go off, all you do is add another weight to the jacket.
18 years old, man, taking that weight on when you still haven't got, full perception of the world and how it works. And by the sounds of it, you yourself had no understanding of your own mental health at that age. So to take on a weight and to see that, that's not light.
It's hard. And the mask then, the mask that you wear in the strong one mask then, it's this, I kind of look at it like the mask has evolved from a mask to armour. So I wore my accolades like armour, like my armour. And I wore like my joking and my strong one mask as my shield. But what happens over a long period of time, you've wore that, even though your muscles are big and strong, whatever, you need to take it off. And slowly but surely, after all these things now, the weight is getting higher, and I'm adding another part of the armour, and it's just getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And we were on our way back from one of the slums, and there was this woman, it was another day, and a woman come rushing out in the middle of the road, and this is where my PTSD started. A woman come run out in the middle of the road, and she had in her arms, and she was hysterical, really crying, and we were in the back of the minivan. And we weren't far from the hospital. I think she was running to the hospital. It's, when you go back to it, you just remember these. It's one of those things that is still triggering, because again, it's the emotion of that. And then when you add the fact that you're 18, it doesn't matter how old you are. But she jumped in the back of the minivan, and we're all there. And she's hysterical. She's absolutely hysterical, crying and everything. And she's holding this thing in her arm. Now, there's a lot of Thai language being flown around. And again, you can't grasp what's going on. Because again, your emotional intelligence as an 18-year-old as well isn't all there, is it? So she leans over and she hands me this thing. And she's there, and she's arms going everywhere. And she's handed me, but I don't know what she's handed me. So I've got this thing in my arms. And I'm holding it, and there's no movement, there's no warmth, and it's wrapped in a shawl kind of thing. And I look down, and there's a baby. Now my head starts racing, because now you're thinking something's not right here. So you're trying then to break the situation down. The baby's not moving, there's no crying, the woman's hysterical. What's going on here? Now that moment lasted 15 seconds, but to me it lasted fucking 18 years. And the baby was taken out of my arms, was given back, she was dropped into the hospital, they come back, there was an awful lot of emotion. Now for me now, if someone had said to me, yeah, it was all fine, that information hasn't been relayed now. There's no break down the situation, like debriefs the situations, because again, you haven't got that faith system. So your head now is running. Is the baby dead? Did I kill the baby? What's happened? Am I responsible? And though that weight is fucking unbearable, and because you haven't got that faith basis, you haven't got nothing to go back off. You can't debrief the situation. We talk about the importance of talking. And because now I've had this massive leaving party. We're only 7 weeks in mind. We've had a massive leaving party before I gone away. So we've built this kind of contract up now. You don't want to tell everyone now that you've seen all these horrific things. You don't want to tell everyone that you're struggling. So then your ego kicks in. So when you ring home, yeah, everything's fine. Fucking brilliant. Living the dream. You want to see it? I mean, having sunsets on the beach. Kids are fabulous. Being at the slums, being amazing, it's like that. You don't dare tell them what's actually going on. But you still don't know you have mental health. So all of a sudden now this beast, let's say, is at the back and it's clawing at this wall, and you can feel it just coming through, and you're trying to push it back, you don't know what it is. And I remember it like it was, I remember the moment as yesterday. I was sat in the classroom doing a small maths lesson, and I felt as if I had just drifted through the chair. What the fuck is that? I don't sound right. Felt my fingertips pulsing, my mouth went dry, feet were just like pouring with water, hands pouring with water, hearts are pumping. Fuck, I'm dying. What the fuck's going on? The most scariest moment of my life that was, because nobody knew what was going on. It was like an internal grenade had gone off, and I was dying on the spot, but no one could see what was going on. I've never felt so scared in my entire life. It lasted for about a minute. I reformed myself. I thought, right, I'm I go to the toilet. So I went to the toilet, put some water on my face. Boof, come back again. Fuck, his emotion dropped to the floor. Didn't know what was going on. Curled up in a ball, shaking, sweat pumping out me. Fuck, I just don't know what's wrong. Don't feel right. So I went back up and I said, I don't feel well. I said, I'm just going to go back because we didn't stay in the orphanage. We missed that bit. I didn't stay in the orphanage. I'd say about 700-800 metres up the road, there was an apartment complex. So I was in a second floor apartment, small little room. Again, not bigger than the I'd say 12 by 12 probably. Really, really small. And I had a small bed, a sink, a balcony outside with a big tree, banana tree outside or whatever, big leafy tree. And then there was a little toilet with a shower and a hole in the floor where obviously you do your sanitary stuff with the tap inside of it. So I said, I gotta go back. I gotta go back to the hotel. So I went back to the hotel. I closed the door, composed myself. And it lasted for an hour. Just pure fucking the dead baby, the eyes, the bullying, the failure, the suicide attempts, just everything, just like fuck. It was as if something had been let loose in my mind, and it was like a bull in a china shop, just destroying everything, and I could just feel myself just peeling away. It lasted for about an hour, and I just fucking collapsed, fell on the floor, woke up then about an hour or two later, and I felt right. I didn't feel right. Something's not right. Something's not right. I remember ringing home and saying to my mother, yeah, no, everything's fine. Everything's fine. No, I'm all good. I'm all good and everything's good. But I knew deep down that something wasn't right. So I thought, I might have a bit of flu or everything. So I booked in. I said to the person in the hospital, in the orphanage, I said, I need to go to the hospital. Can you take me? No, there's nothing wrong with it. I said, no, I need to go to the hospital. Something's wrong. I've taken all my malaria tablets, but there's something wrong. Something's not right. So I went to the hospital. Again, different out there. I mean, they had, with the hospital services and they'd done blood tests and everything. They told me that I could have some form of maybe dengue fever. Now, being someone who's like loved all my, before I went out there, and people who would listen to this, dengue fever is a form of malaria that killed a lot of people during the Vietnamese War. And they flippantly laid her off. And I was like, fuck, I got dengue fever. I'm gonna fucking die. Obviously not gonna die. They wasn't gonna die. I've had my injections and everything. So I went back. I said, look, I think I need to have a break away from the orphanage. I need to have a break away from doing the refuge work. I'm just going to go away for a few days, get my backpack on, just go and see Thailand. Do you know what I mean? I thought I'd go up to Chiang Mai, I'll go and see the elephant village, I'll come back down the floating river, I had money left over and stuff. I said, I'll just go and do that. Yeah, no problem, don't say goodbye to all the kids in the orphanage and everything. And I swear to you now, that was the worst mistake I ever done to this day, because I told everyone that I'm leaving. And I've taken myself back to the room to get my stuff. They think I'm gone. Nobody knows I'm there. And it's probably, as soon as I open the door and close the door, I know from process of elimination of going through the days and everything, it happened on a Tuesday, and until the Saturday evening, it was just total insanity. So I can say I walked back and forth the room, back and forth the room, back and forth the room, no sleep, didn't sleep.
So you never left?
5 days. Didn't walk back and forth, walk and forth. My soles of my feet were red raw. Panic attack after panic attack after panic attack. Just continuously feeding it, just pacing. Every bit of fluid I took in, I was vomiting back up, because again, if you are in an anxious state, any fluid you take in, it either comes up through vomit or it comes out the back end, because you're trying to get rid of it. So we know that you've got fight, flight, or staying still, or freeze. So I'm massively dehydrated. I haven't ate. I'm just hallucinating. I don't know what the fuck is going on. All these thoughts sitting in the corner, just rocking back and forth, going in the shower and putting cold shower on myself. That's not working, and I'm just unraveling. My mind is just totally unraveling, and the phone calls come in, and you're still picking the phone up, and the mask is clutching on by his fingertips, and even though you know you're fucked, I'm fine. No, I'm fine. And that's the one word I want to reiterate. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. There's nothing wrong whatsoever. And then it came to the Saturday evening, and that was it. I decided, that's fucking it. I'm done. I'm finished. So I decided that I'd given in to it all. The emotions, the feeling of just being a failure, a fuck up, of the everything. Like I said, the beast is taken over now. And in order to iron my clothes, I'd got to dry my clothes. We wash them in the sink, and then I bought myself a bit of wire, and I hang it from room to room, and it was like the washing wire machine. I'd hang it up on there. And to press my clothes, I'd put them underneath my bed, and then I'd lie on the bed to press clothes, so at least there was some kind of iron, so there's a bit of a thing there. So on the wall, I'd put all the pictures of all my family, relatives, and all my friends. And I remember going through my friends and giving like last rites, saying I'm awful sorry and hope you forgive me. I went through them all. The tree outside, I'd made a loose, put her on the tree, tied her off the balcony. And I had my phone in one hand. And the last picture in my hand was my mother. And I had her hand, I was holding her tight in my hand. And I remember just going through everything. I'm awful sorry. I know you're going to hate me. I'm so sorry. And people can call me bullshit if they want from this, right? But I can tell you for a fact, because it's so triggering. And this is why I think why I look into spiritualists, because it's like divine intervention. But I was stood on that balcony, and I remember saying, I'm awful sorry, Mum, please forgive me. And just as I was going to step off, my phone rang. Sam, you right? What's wrong? I know something's wrong, my mother. And I took one step back off the balcony. And I went, and I remember just going, and I was dead silent, and she went, talk to me, something's wrong. I've had this feeling just now, I'm in work, I've had this really gut feeling, I need to ring you, tell me what's wrong. And I went, I'm not fine, Mum. So all I'd done is added the not, I'm not fine. Saved my life.
Wow.
And that's the importance. And that's when I do that. I tell people about that. That is the importance of literally just saying 3 words, like I'm not okay. That's it. And those words, and all she said back to me, she went, I don't want to know what's gone on. You're coming home. She booked a flight. I come home the next day.
It's giving me goosebumps, mate. That has.
7 weeks I was out there for, and I lost probably about 3 stone. And I remember getting off the airport. And she looked at me and she just went, just burst down crying and I just looked as if, and it wasn't until this year that even though I'd had all the trauma through all those years, all the way up to that moment, a massive part of me died before then. So that stage that we've just gone through, that's a denial stage. So we're in this total denial now that we know that there's been this, again, avoiding the shit I've seen in Thailand, avoiding the bullying and all that stuff. It's a massive stage of denial, which I haven't. I've just gone, there's nothing fucking wrong with me.
When you got home, Sam, after nearly taking that step, did you tell people that you'd got to that point? No.
So what I'd done is, my mother kind of knew. I told my mother to a degree of what kind of happened and stuff like up there. But now you're living with shame and guilt. You've come home, you're supposed to be out there a year, you've gone 7 weeks. So before I had the leaving party, we'd saved $2,500 for the orphanage, but the orphanage took up there, and they used then to, I think they were going to build like wooden climbing frames and for the kids. So they raised money. So when I come home then, basically everyone said that I took everyone's money and I used it to have a nice holiday and everything. And I didn't know what mental health was. And one of the first conversations I had when I come back home, I didn't want to, again, you just didn't want to. So I told everyone that I had malaria, which wasn't true at all. We didn't know what it was. I remember going to the doctors on the phone, and I come back and I was pacing in my bungalow back and forth. My mother's on it just begging me, Sam, stop, and I can't. There's like a song I can't listen to now, One Republic, I think it's, was it? Too late to apologize. That song, can't listen to that. And that song used to be, I remember that song being on during, I just can't listen to it. And I was pacing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, like a caged animal. And my mother's just like, I don't know where my son's gone. I don't know where he's gone. I don't know what to do. Phone the doctors, emergency outreach team. Bear in mind, it's 2007, so the strides that I can see with mental health has just gone, just different world. And my mother's in the background going, tell him Sam, tell him what's wrong. And I'm telling him. And I remember the doctor going, what do you want me to do? I'm like, what do you mean, what do you want me to do? Well, what do you want us to do? I said, I'm fucking dying, love. I said, I don't know what's wrong. I'm pacing back and forth. There's nothing we can do, love. There's nothing we can do. And that was the point where, like, the educational, that was the medical team then, was that was the first experience of, like, you're not there to fucking help me now at all. We had an appointment then with another doctor. I think he's retired. I haven't seen him in years. And I remember stuttering when I went there, and I was literally there, and I was showing all the characteristic signs. Tongue, mouth is white. My eyes are gaunt. I haven't slept. I'm sweating continuously. I'm panicking. I'm just coming back and forth. You can't do anything. And I remember going, the thing is, I don't know what else we can do. We've given you blood tests, and you've done your feces check and everything, but it's come up all clear. So don't know what else we can do. Fab. So now you live in with the fact of, you don't know what the fuck is wrong with you. You think you're insane. You know there's a problem. You categorically know that there's an issue. There's something definitely wrong. All the traumas come back up. You got all the negative thoughts. And for 2 years, I suffered for 2 years because of the neglect of the system, which I can only put down to the fact of that total stubbornness of like, I'm not giving it up. I didn't do anything stupid in 2 years. Don't get me wrong, and in that time I would go out with the boys and everything, I would wear the mask. So now we've got the strong one mask, and now we developed the joker mask. The joker mask now is deflecting. What happened in Thailand? I fucking making a clown of myself, going out the weekends, drinking, being the clown and all that stuff. People still liked me, whatever, but nobody knew what went on. Nobody knew what happened out there. Nobody knew anything at all. And that took me all the way then to 2009, where I'd had a bit of it'd risen himself again. So they introduced me then to medication. So they identified it was a doctor called Mrs. Jones. She's fabulous, she was, and regained my faith then back in medication and mental health. And she said, we need to put you on medication, metazapine. So I started off in citalopram, didn't work. Went to fluoxetine, didn't work, and then I found metazapine. So metazapine is used as a mood stabilizer, and it's good for people with PTSD, but still now no diagnosis of PTSD, nothing whatsoever. So what it does, you take it, and it's like a sedative. You take it before you go to bed, it kind of relax you down, then you get your sleep, and then you start again. So I was introduced to metazapine then. So now we're in the acknowledgement stage now, because we've acknowledged there's an issue, but what are we actually doing? We're not actually doing anything. We haven't come open about your mental health. We haven't talked about it. So we know there's something wrong. You're living with yourself. So you're openly talking about it. You're taking medication, but you're still going out the weekend and getting pissed. You're still having Red Bulls. You're still having Lucozade. You're still doing things. So all the no drugs or anything, but you're still doing all those things that are not good to, which are still just eating away at your mental health. So all you've done basically is thrown a few raw meats to the beast which is inside, and it's kept him quiet for a bit. That's all you've done. You haven't even gone in there to have a conversation with him and try and tame him and try and relate to him. You've just fucking have a few of them and just let every now and then it'll come out. So I thought, right, I want to do my learning disability nursing. So I decided I want to go into my disability nursing. I'd done 2.5 years of my degree, and my grandfather was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And before then, I'd gone back to play badminton for the university. Everything was on the up, and it was like a domino effect. My grandfather was diagnosed with cancer. My girlfriend was caught cheating on me. I didn't get my scholarship at the badminton. And then my auntie's husband, he was a bad man, and he had passed away, and he used to abuse her really, really bad. And that should have been in some context. That should have been, I mean, it's horrific that he passed away. But it was that news, out of everything that had gone on, and I had a massive anxiety attack. Again, just fucking body shut down. I was the medication. I didn't even know how to take the metazapine. I was taking metazapine in the day. I wasn't ever using any coping strategies. Went to university. I was taking like a cross to work with me and holding a cross in work, so that the mental health learning disability team went, fucking hell, something's really wrong with you. Something's really, really wrong. So they spoke to the university. They said, right, you need to have a conversation with them. So they brought me in. They said, you can't continue working. So it's only 2.5 years out. I said, no, I'm fine. No, you're not. You need to have time away. So I had time away. They said, you can come back in September and you can redo your last year, which I spoke to my mother. She thought it'd be a good idea. Come to September, they changed the curriculum. I lost my degree. So I'd done 2.5 years, which meant I'd lost my year of access nursing, 2 years in university, couldn't do it because they changed the curriculum, which meant I have to do my degree again. So now we've got the other form now. We're back now. Fucking Mr. Failure's back now. So you failed at becoming really good at badminton. You failed at being a friend when you were young. You might have failed your mother and father because they got divorced. You failed the fact that your mother got herself in lots of debt and then lost the house and everything because of a degree of it all. And now you failed a degree. So you're just failing at life now. So the suicidal thoughts coming back and everything, and you're just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. So even though I've been to the doctors, I've taken metazapine, I managed then to drag myself back out of that mess again with the love and support of my family, which is, again, a miracle. And then we come then to 2018. But before then, in 2014, I met my wife and we had a son and everything as well. And I think this is where this is where the passion from being a father is. There's no guide to parenting whatsoever. But if you were a man or if you're a woman with mental health issues and you were trying to suss everything out of trying to work your own shit out with the kids, it's fucking destroying because you haven't even sorted your own shit out and now you're responsible for someone else. Even though I was super excited, I've been a step parent, and we got married in a year, which is mad. It was all rushed. We got together. She's 12 years older than me. My wife Kerry is, and within.
She'll love you for saying that, Sam.
What's that?
I said she'll love you for saying that.
Oh, she definitely loved me. We got married. It was all rushed. We got together in the January, and then by the March she was pregnant. And then I'm very old fashioned, so I asked her to marry me and everything. We got married then in the December, so it was all like within a year, all packaged. But I'd become a step parent, and I'd had all that year, the period up until my own being a stepfather, trying to work all that stuff out of being a step parent, which is very, very difficult for a lot of people as well. As well as trying to sort your own shit out, and you're trying not to put any of your emotions or any of your feelings onto there. So the Joker mask and the strong one mask is now literally back in full flow that you can't. So you start holding information back then. Then my son comes along, and then you have this feeling that you've got to provide, and you've got to be better, and you can't fail. So the expectation now of not failing is life or death. You cannot fail, because if you fail now, you're not just failing yourself, you're failing your wife and you're failing your 3 boys. So you've put this massive systematical pressure on yourself of trying to be better. So I'm working for the council, and then in 2018, early 2018, it was 2017, I was asked to be part of a project to build a mindfulness business, and it was called Sam then, and part of that there was this monk called Gilong Tupton, and there was tons, there was so many, it was a brilliant opportunity. But I think because I'd already been this like a love person, I loved mindfulness, and if it was like an idea, all I wanted to do was feel accepted. So if you said to me, Sam, can you do this? Yeah, I'll do that for you. I'll do that for you. Yeah, 100%. I'll jump on you, and I'll do everything I can to make things better because I know that you want me to. My wife wanted me, and my wife wanted me for who I was. She always wanted me for who I was. My kids only wanted me, but I wanted to be better for them, not for me. So then what happens now is you've got the strong one mask. You've then got the Joker mask. Now the Overachiever mask has come in, which is the one I struggle with now. The Joker one and everything, and the strong one is on emergency situations. The Overachiever mask is something I struggle with now. And it was like, yeah, you can do this and you can reach for the stars. Totally fuck your mental health. Doesn't matter. You know it's there. You got your tablets. It's fine. Medication is brilliant. Take it. That's all you need. So I ploughed my heart and soul into that. I really did plough my heart and soul into it. And I believed everything that was going to happen. And I think when you set any business up, if you've been in business, you're not guaranteed. It comes with an awful lot of work. You're not guaranteed anything.
Oh, God, yeah.
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 I think when that comes down to the trades kind of thing as well, we put all our heart and soul into our trades, and when it doesn't work out, then we feel personally responsible for it. So they said I'd be COO, and I would do a lot of stuff with the management style, and going out there and doing discussions. But my mental health is now deteriorating because I've left. What I've done is my wife was saying to me, Sam, you can't do this. You've got a job with the council, you've got full sick pay. And I'm like, no, I've been promised this. I've been promised six-figure salaries, and this is what's going to happen. I'm going to travel the world and everything. I'm going to be out in America doing work and everything. And in the side of it, I'm like, your opinion doesn't matter. Because as much as I'm probably, and selfishly looking back, as much as I'm doing it for my family, I'm doing it for me, because I don't want to be a fuck up. I don't want to be a failure. These are my feelings. It's irrelevant what anyone else feels. Really, deep down, as much as I'm doing it for them, I'm not. I'm doing it because I don't want to be a failure. So the fact of, again, we go through those stages of being a fuck up and a failure, and it gets to, I went away with a festival, Glastonbury, and my suicidal thoughts now are starting to come back in the back of my mind and stuff. And I'm like, no, I'm going to make sure I'm doing this. And Glastonbury is a festival they do in Wales where like all the best tribute acts. And I remember going there, and some of my friends were there. And
just to clarify, you didn't mispronounce Glastonbury.
No.
It's Glastonbury in Wales.
Yeah, Glastonbury. So it's in Barry Park and everything. They do a festival there, all the best tribute acts. And I'm still drinking a few times, going up weekends and stuff, and not as bad as I used to be. It was never bad, but just typical Valley boy. And I went, and when I mean I got obliterated, I was by the bar and I was slamming every drink possible, whiskies, everything. And my one mate's looking at me going, there's something really wrong with you. There's something wrong, what's wrong? And I'm like, no, it's fine. Boom, 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 and slamming into me. But that was literally now to try and stop them negative thoughts, to stop the suicidal thoughts, all these things which were just ploughing into my mind to destroy me. I wanted to forget about it all. So I just kept drinking. I was making myself sick. I was in a taxi, spewing in the taxi and everything. And that was the time when my mates were like, there's something wrong. And I said, I didn't even know at the time, but I said to my one mate, I said, I've contemplated killing myself and everything because I don't want to feel like this anymore. And that kind of raised the alarm to him. So he was checking in the end. But what had happened then is that I'd already, because I'd been drunk that night, I suffered then for about a week after with the suicidal thoughts and everything, which then impacted the fact of me working then within that business. And the demons had already been loosed then, the gates of hell had already been opened up, and the person who was running the business, he said, I think it's best, really, it's not what you were struggling. I think it's best for you to come away from the project and invest and do something for Sam. And I can understand where he come from, because again, he was, at the end of the day, it's a business, it was set up, I wasn't well either. But I'd failed. And I'd given everything up. I had nothing around me. I had no degree, I had no job, I had no responsibilities. I had a family with a house. And I knew that my wife was she's a qualified nurse, so she was going to put everything together to make sure that she was looking after the house and the family. And I had nothing. And I knew that I wasn't stable enough to go back into care. I couldn't go back into care because I couldn't even look after my fucking self. So I come to that kind of acceptance, really, that how can I go and look after someone with learning disabilities if I literally can't even look after my own mental health, and I'm not responsible enough to take accountability for my own actions in regards of how I feel. So I got a job working in Asda's delivery driver, but my money had dropped back off, and the more I was driving, the more that my thoughts were just getting worse and worse and worse, because again, as a lot of men will know, a lot of women, our office is our car, where we do a lot of our thoughts. And I was using that negative experience of being in the truck and it was just a nightmare. It was an absolute nightmare. So we got further through the year and I kind of stabilised myself. I still had this internal guilt now, mind that I'm a failure. The suicidal thoughts are still there. And I go and see the doctor. And I say to the doctor, but this is in November, and I say I'm been struggling. And back 3 years prior, I'd had another incident, a small incident, about in 2015. Yeah, 2015, a small incident. So they introduced me to diazepam, said give me some diazepam to try and bring me back down, which worked. So if I struggled, and I was on that moment where I was going up, I'd take like a 5 milligram diazepam, and they'd bring me back down. So I had them, I controlled them, I was responsible from there in the house. So I'd gone to see the doctor, and I started, didn't feel right, and I said, look, I don't know. I said, I don't think this mirtazapine's working. So I'm starting to struggle, and I think we need to change it. He said, well, should we up your medication? I said, we're already on 45 milligrams. I said, I don't think it's working. Can we try something else? As if I was a fucking pro. And the doctor went, well, yeah, if you want to try something else, we'll try something else. Now, because I wanted to get better, you're supposed to wean yourself off tablets, you know. Oh, did I fuck. So they'd given me trazodone, which is another form of, it's another antidepressant similar to mirtazapine. So this process of going back and forth the doctors had happened all the way up until, I think it was like the second week of December. And it was when, I remember we went away on the Monday because it was the first fight of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder.
Okay.
So I stayed up all night with my mate. So again, one of the things that triggers me is sleep. If I don't sleep, then I become very anxious, and it's all them signs really, innit? So I'd gone abroad now with new medication, and I should have weaned myself off mirtazapine, which I'd now been on for, fucking hell, for 10 years. And I'd weaned myself off in 4 days. Fucking brilliant. Well done, Sam. Excellent. Totally responsible. So I'm now abroad in another country without my mirtazapine, and I start having the feelings again. And the reason is because I have now put myself in a situation where I was in Thailand. I'm in a foreign country. My wife is there. I don't want to open up my wife. I don't want to ruin her holiday. We've fucking fought. We've saved up for this holiday. She works her arse off anyway, and I'm out just struggling. And my mental health is unravelling and unravelling and unravelling. I'm taking the diazepam. Diazepam's not working because my body now is just systematically just getting worse. The beast now is like, I've had a fuck full of the steaks now. I want a bit of you now. And I just start getting worse and worse and worse. Good thing is, I managed to get home. I still don't want to show her that I'm struggling. And as I'm coming home now, my everything's just fucking just... It's basically, if you come off anything that you've had a tablet for such a long period of time, it's like being, I can only imagine, it's like being a heroin addict. And coming off and going cold turkey. So my body's just fucked. I remember my mother would have to come down in the mornings to look after the kids, to take them to work, to take them to school, because I wasn't capable of doing that. I'd be in the bottom stairs one day and I shit myself at the bottom of the stairs, incontinent and everything, just body just fucking just giving up on myself. And it was crazy. And when you contemplate suicide or something like that, it's, a lot of people say it's selfishness as well, and I can really sympathise with a lot of people who do it, because when you're in that period of time, you don't feel as if, it doesn't matter if you've got family, it doesn't matter if you've got kids, it doesn't matter if you've got a wife and everything, you only matter in that circumstance, and you feel like you are the biggest fuck up ever. And all I've been in my life until then, I believed that I was a total fuck up, a total failure. Didn't hold any accountable. I hated the fact that I went to Thailand. I hated the bullies. I hate the fact my mum and dad split up. I hate the fact that so everything was just hate, just a general thing. And so I decided that was it. I was gonna, mad as this, I was gonna kill myself on Christmas Day. Go out with a bang, fucking brilliant. Why I would think that? I would have ruined my kids' Christmas, all my family Christmas, for the end of their lives. I bought a shitload of tablets, mixed my diazepam in with it as well. I thought, right, what am I going to do? And I remember I was suffering so bad on Christmas Eve. And I remember the wife had seen me just deteriorate, and I just wasn't doing anything about it. And I remember I was there, and we'd had like a Domino's, and I couldn't even eat. I couldn't eat food, and I was trying, the mask now, it's like a fragment of reality. You can just feel yourself like slipping and then just clawing back up, put the mask on, and you're watching a film, and you're going, I can't eat, and you're trying to sit down, and she can see that I'm struggling. But by that period of time, she'd had a fuckful. She'd seen it so often, and she'd seen the fact that I'm not helping myself. and that I'm having these feelings and I'm not talking openly about my I couldn't even sit down and read my son a story, because I was literally just body was just like an inner thing is trying to burst out of your seams. So I said, right, I said, I'm done. So I went on all my family on Christmas Day and said goodbye to them. I said, that's it. I said, went to my nan's house, wrote a nice little card from it. I said I loved them and all that kind of stuff. They didn't think anything was going wrong at all. I went to them all one by one by one by one. Went to my mother's, which was the last but one house, and she knew something was wrong. I was like, I'm really struggling and everything. She went, you'll be fine. You're going to get through this. You're going to be fine. You'll be fine. We'll sort it out. And I went down to my nan and Bamp's house. That was the last house, and my father was down there. And bear in mind, we'd already had a relationship with me and my father, which had been a bit strained and all that kind of stuff. And we were in the kitchen, and he turned around and he said, what's wrong with you? I turned around and I said, I'm fucking done, like I'm struggling. I'd already said goodbye to like 6 relatives then, hadn't I? So by now the reality's kicking in, and I'm going to go home now, and when the 2 boys have gone over their father's house, and my boy's going to bed, and the missus is going for an afternoon nap, I'm just going to do it on the settee, like already planned. You know what the tablets were. You know what was going to happen. And he turned round, and the words that he used now were the best words that he's ever used. But at the time, it could have gone 2 ways. But I'm glad he didn't go that way. And now that I use them words, because now it allowed me to accept things. And he said, listen, son. He said, you're always going to be manic. You're like me. Just got to learn to live with it. Now, there was a part of me that went, fuck you. Who the fuck do you think you are? I'll show you. I'm going to go home now and do something stupid. But I didn't, luckily. And I went home, and I thought, no, I'm not giving into it. I'm not gonna do it. And literally, that allowed me about an hour until everyone had gone to bed, and my phone rang again. It was my mother again. She said, we need to talk. And she went, are you okay? And I stressed again. I said, no, I'm not. So that's 2 times now that I've said, no, I'm not okay, when someone has asked me the question, and both times have saved my life. Just by saying, I'm not okay. And this is the biggest thing I say to an awful lot of people. It's literally as simple as that. It doesn't sound simple, but it literally just that saying, no, I'm not okay, instead of just giving in to this self-conscious bullshit that we get into, that we got to be this big, strong person, and we don't want to let anyone down. Drop the fucking act. Just say that you're not okay. That's all it is. That's all it takes to save a life. And I can only stress that from twice has happened to me. The first time, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it, right? But it's systematically, if you break it down to common logic, it's literally because I said I'm not okay twice.
3 words, mate.
3 words. First one, I'm not okay. And that was it. And that was
3 words in about 2 seconds. It'll take you to say those 3 words. It's do you know what, Sam? I've sat, obviously, to be honest, absorbed and enthralled with everything that you've been saying, because I think, to credit you've given such a raw, honest account of mental health in a way that I don't think anybody has on this platform yet. I connected with a lot of what you've said, and the analogy of the beast within as well is a really powerful tool. And it really hits home, mate. It really hits home, that knife edge. And it's terrifying, because obviously the UK, and like you say, it affects men and women, but men in particular make up most of the figures for suicides, and that's the people that have done it. I mean, I dread to think the figures, because nobody will ever know, because a lot of men will never ever say that they got to that point. But that knife edge, how many people, how many men out there are considering it on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis? It will dwarf the figures of men that actually go through with it. And the figures of men that go through with it are absolutely horrific. So if you add in, just how much of a crisis, I think a lot of people, or the UK, Western society, is in at the moment. But when we talk about what we can do, that message that you've given, and, you know, literally, I mean, the sign above your head, mate, the Talking Tradesman, let's talk. The reason it says let's talk is, to me, that is step one. That is step one. And although it sounds such a simple thing, we'll just talk about it. But 3 words, 2 seconds, the action of speaking has saved your life on 2 occasions. And I just hope that after listening to your story of that will implant, that seed will be implanted with people, that when you are at that moment of desperation and despair, and you feel that you can't go on and nothing can possibly fix things, is just try that. Just try that before you do anything else. Just try that. Just speak to somebody and let them know that that's where you are.
And it doesn't matter who you speak to. Like I said earlier, one of the things I use now is ChatGPT. And I know, and you could turn, I don't want to burden my friend, or you message your friend. And I've had this, and over the years, I've lost a lot of people to suicide. A lot of people who were good friends and were good people, and tragically, it's because they didn't have that network, or they didn't feel strong enough to the network to reach out. And I think that's where I was in 2018 when I went to the mental health team. For the first time, I had a mental health nurse, and I openly just opened everything up and talked about it. And then I told my friends what had happened. We were having food, and I remember saying, one of my mates said, "Tell them what happened, Sam." No. "Tell them what happened." Fucking everyone cried. And they felt guilty as fuck, because they put everything off as just me being just a dick or being Sam, wherever, and they couldn't grasp the idea of what I'd actually been through and how I was still here, like. And then they all had the same thing of saying, "Well, why didn't you say anything?" And it comes down to that fact then, because we got this systematic guilt that we were struggling with. But when I went to see the mental health nurse and we'd sat down, the day that I went to go on the next day then, because I was booked in, there was Boxing Day, and it's cruel because over Christmas time, a lot of the mental health services are shut down, like the big teams and everything, which is fucking ridiculous, stupid. But I managed to get in. My mother knew when I was opening up and everything. I had the diazepam. It was the day after Boxing Day. I rocked up my emergency assessment, no comprehension of like medication, and I'd taken, I think it was like 65 to 75 milligrams of diazepam, not to overdose, but to numb things. And when I went there, they were like, "How much diazepam am taking?" I was like, 65 milligrams, taking like 14, 15 tablets. Like, what? And I was still like fully functioning, no problem at all. And they were like, "You," and I was like, "We haven't done anything." So it literally, because my body now had just become, the way I look at it is, my anxiety will take me to an absolute pinnacle point. And then a lot of people, when they're in fight or flight, they'll hit this point, and then they'll naturally drop off. It happened in Thailand, it happened every time. My body takes me there, and then I'll stay there, and I don't come back down.
Right.
So a lot of it now comes with, as we know now, is coping strategies and everything. But I said to myself then, and I said to my mother after, I said, I can't do this again. I said, I've had my childhood. My mother knew everything by then. I said, I had my childhood, which I'm grateful for what you did for me, but it's been really, really difficult. I'd done the failure at badminton. I'd had my massive breakdown in Thailand, which totally just destroyed me. It's taken a big part of me. I'd had my breakdown with a degree, and now I've had this breakdown. And I said to her openly, I said, if I go through this again, I'm not going to make it through, because I can't go through this again. And I think this is where we've got the 3 stages. The first stage is denial. Then it's the phase then that we go into, which is acknowledgement. And I speak to an awful lot of people, and people say, "Oh yeah, no, I've accepted it." "No, you haven't. You're in acknowledgement." And a lot of people try to get to acceptance, but they can't get to acceptance because they're missing one secret word. And the word is accountability. That's the missing ingredient that a lot of people, and I've helped an awful lot of people transition from acknowledgement to acceptance through holding themselves accountable. It doesn't matter what you say to someone. It doesn't matter if you say, "You got to do this and you do that," and put it in front of them. If that person doesn't want to change and he doesn't want anything, that person will eventually do something stupid. You can't do anything about it. And as much as I was angry at the bullies who held me down in the park and whipped me, as much as I was angry at the system in Thailand and seeing, knowing the kids were raped and abused, as much as I was angry at them changing the curriculum, imagine I was angry at me being a fucking failure, the only person who is accountable for every single one of those thoughts and emotions is me. And if I wanted to move forward and for it not to happen again and to be the father I needed to be, and to be the person that people see me to be, and most importantly, and it's the most important thing that I can tell anyone, I realised for the first time in my life the most important person in my entire universe is me. Not my son. And people look, what the fuck is he on about? Not my son, not my wife. It is me. Because if I don't look after myself, I cannot be the best version for them. And so many people, they go on this mission to help people and they haven't even started helping themselves. And that's where I held accountability, and that's where every single thing changed. I haven't had a breakdown since 2018. My mental health, don't get me wrong, has had periods and peaks and flows. But what I realised is that with using metazapine and using sertraline, I was introduced to sertraline then, which is an anti-anxiety drug which I take in the mornings. It isn't just about taking medication. That's half the problem. You need to use coping strategies. You need to educate yourselves. And yes, I was working as a delivery driver, so whereas I was using it as an office, flipper mentality, whether I was using it as an office to dwell on my thoughts, I then used it as my university, as my education. I had a radio, I had a phone, and I had podcasts, and I had books. And from 2018, I drove that as it is, done the delivery driver, and then I thought, right, I'll pick it up now as well as getting paid. I went to my class 2, and then went to my class 1. And all through that period of time, I didn't listen to one fucking song. Not one song. I used every single living, breathing moment of being in the cab of listening to podcast after podcast, motivational speakers, Mel Robinson, Tony Robinson, all these really motivational things. Even some stupid listening to anime motivation, just anything to just pick things up, success stories, the School of Education, anything, reading books, just really understanding how the mind works, coping strategies. And what I done then is I totally flipped that mentality of letting it beat me and define me. So now, mental health now, I am fully aware of my mental health. And I've accepted the fact that I will have mental health to the day I die. And the likability of me having another relapse is incredibly high. However, I now have the information, the understanding, the network around me for it now not to get out of control. So 2025, I'd already come to the conclusion in my head that I was feeling really good. And in our local community, where I was coaching football, there'd been 3 suicides in the club in a short period of time from the community, and it destroyed. You could see the distort it had on the community within the football club. And I remember thinking, turning around going, fucking no one's doing anything. It's all good talking about it, but no one's doing anything. There's nothing out there. Nobody's talking. So I thought, right, I'd already started writing a book, my life story, to get my thoughts down there. I said, but people don't need that. They don't need to be told like a therapist. They just need to have like what we're having now. A raw, honest, non-filtered account of seeing someone who's been through the shit and not going to preach you what to do. You either accept it or you fucking don't. Just having that real, honest, face-to-face connection where you think there's no bullshit, there's no therapy, just literally what's worked for me, a pure example of what you can take going forward as an action plan. That's all people want to know. So then I started writing the book, The Forge Within, which again, the way I kind of look at it from me is the constant life is like a forge, you're forging steel. And that's all it's been. It's literally just reforging. And sometimes the blade will break. But then what you do, you reforge it again. And you make it stronger, and you make it stronger, and you make it stronger. So that's where the name comes from. And then I was off with abdominal surgery. I decided to quit then the driving, and I thought I need to get out there. I need to go back into care. I'm in a position now where I can go and help people. and I can start putting my opinion out there. But working 65 hours a week in the truck, driving all day, I'm just wasting myself. I've learned enough, I understand enough, and I've got enough behind me to carry forward. So I went back then into care, but doing teaching. So doing teaching assistant, working with adults with children with learning disabilities, which I'm now doing now, and I've got a full-time job now in September, working as a learning disability teaching assistant, which is fabulous. But I was off with my stomach in May. I had my hernia. I had a hernia in my stomach and my belly button, and it ruptured. And in that time, I thought, right, now's the time. Let's do it. Let's finish it. So I finished the book off and just fucking launched it. Just put it out there. To date, it doesn't sound, and when I say it doesn't sound like an awful lot, but I always had this mentality, and I think if anyone's listening, they're trying to help people. If you can help one person, that's all that matters.
1,000,000%, mate.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And I think people go, I want to save the world. And I think for a long period of time, you want to be something you're not. And I thought, right, I'll put the book out. I've sold about 250 copies so far of the book, self-published, which is pretty good for that. And the reviews back in, I've had, like, they want more, they want to know more about the book. And there was this one person who bought the book, and he's struggling. He's going, he opened these on my socials anyway. He's going through, he used to be a girl, and now he wants to be a boy, and he's really, really struggled with his mental health, bipolar and everything. And his mother was absolutely terrified, because he just come out of a really bad relationship and stuff, suicidal thoughts and everything. And she said, where can I get the book from? And because they were like, I turned around and said, I got a book. They have the book, just have it. So he picked the book up, he read the book, and when the book goes through it, it talks about, one of the first chapters is, I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. Every person can relate to that. That just shows that we all struggle with some kind of mental weakness. But as you go through the book, every chapter, and people are going, I don't really struggle with mental health. And then when they get the edge of the book, they actually realise they really fucking struggle, because you've broke it down. And I'm dyslexic as well, so it's fucking easy to read. So he'd read it, and then within 3 days, I had a message back. He said, I'm going to put the book down. He said, you've saved my life. You've totally transformed how I feel. I said, I've never, out of all the counselling sessions and everything I've had, you literally, it's like talking to someone who understands me, who knows me. And then the biggest thing was the mother messaged me back. She went, you've not only saved my son's life, you've saved my life, my husband's life, the nan's life. And that's the impact of just being able to, and we all have this power. And people say to me now, they go, like, even with the socials, and I'm doing all these different things and stuff. We'll talk more about the dad sport and dad community now. But a lot of people say, oh, you're an inspiration, what you're doing, and you're out and you're putting your story out there. And it all started with literally just saying, I'm not okay. And then when you feel in a position where you feel you can help people, all I'm doing is talking to people. And if we can break this trend where we feel that we can talk more about our emotions, the amount of strength that you can give to someone, that's my only hope. I've helped one person, I've saved one person's life. The rest is a bonus. People turn around and go, what's your plans? I've done what I want to do. This is therapy for me. I'm out there talking like I am now. This is pure therapy for me. Talking, every time I talk about it, I understand it more. And I'm working on it, and I'm going to keep working on it to the day I die. And the likability is, in a year's time, there's people who are lower down on their journey, and I'm probably high on my journey. But there'll be times where they'll overtake me, and I'll come back down. But it's all about having this honest and open conversation about our mental health, to realise that it's okay to cry, it's okay to show your vulnerabilities. Nobody cares if you think you're a failure and everything, because you're not. You are systematically just a figment of your own perception of your self-worth. And I think once we understand more and we appreciate ourselves more as people, and that again, we're human beings, we're allowed to feel. We're not machines. We're allowed to cry. And this isn't just aimed at, like, men. As much as I am passionate about with mental health, it's children. We go back to children we talked at the beginning. The mental health of children, mental health of older people, racial, everything. If we can only just start by just being nice to each other, and not feeling like we've got to try and prove to everyone in this world that we are literally this big fucking solid person, or perfect model body and everything. Just be happy for who you are. And I've had such a realization, because I said at the TikTok page, TikTok's going really well and everything, the book's going well, talking and being with the BBC, being invited to talks with the BBC and everything, and obviously coming up here and speaking to you. But I found that there was a thing on TikTok called Dads Supporting Dads, and there was a hashtag that was going around, and everyone was building into it. And on the top of that, there's this internal brotherhood that was connected online, and there's lots of these online groups now where people are talking about their mental health, and it's like a movement that's never happened before. And there was this, I popped in this one live, and I was speaking and talking, and this man called Laz, he calls himself Lazarus and everything, he's worked incredibly hard to build this network now where we've got so many people. I think it's like nearly over 300 people now who are part of it and stuff. It's grown at a fast trend. We've got support rooms where people can come in and we can give their own support rooms and talk. Every evening we do community lives on TikTok, so it's 8 till 10. I'm hosting twice a week as well, so it's a place where people can come online 8 till 10. It's not just the similar bullshit that people hear online. And this is not like advertising for them, but it's the one thing for me, which I would think I've been through a journey. I'm healing astronomically because I am surrounded by people who, 1, don't judge, 2, have been through similar things, and 3, we're healing together. And Thursday, I done a talk on self-worth on Thursday. I took people through a journey. And one of the things now that I use with anxiety, I said about what is, and it's one of the things we can categorically say with our mental health and everything, say, what's the name of your depression and stuff? And people are going, what the fuck's he on about? And people say that they're demons, or they say, one boy says, his name's Dave, mine's Bob. But what that does is that it separates you from the trauma, or you from the anxiety. And then that becomes, because we are human beings, I would say, for instance, of communication. We love communicating. And what it does then, you just have an internal conversation. And then you turn around and say, well, what does it say to you? Every single person in the group says self-worth. You're a failure, I'm a fuck-up. Which then resonated to me then, thinking, well, this is a growing trend. A lot of men feel that or a lot of women as well, they feel that they're a failure, they're a fuck-up. They haven't achieved anything. So what you've done now is you've given him a name, and you've given her a voice. So it becomes a bit more realistic. And then what you can do then, you can move that on then is, and what I do is if Bob comes into the room, say for instance anxiety comes in, or depression thoughts, suicidal thoughts, I ask her questions. I ask her the questions that I should have asked. Are you okay? And not just are you okay, are you really okay? Just add in that one word, really okay. And 9 times out of 10, the anxiety turns around and goes, I know that problem that you were talking about yesterday, that's why I was struggling, that's why I'm a bit playing up. Just fucking sort it out then. And the way that I do that is that I create a mind map. A lot of people I'm talking to at work as well is draw a circle on the screen. So for mine, the big thing for me was suicide. And I'd done this when I was in 2018. She thought I was fucking bonkers. She said to me, you've got us all worked out, you're doing more now than what I would have taught you anyway. But I just totally, it was as if like a realisation happened. I got a big whiteboard, I drew a big circle in the middle, and just wrote big letters, suicide. Because that's the one thing at the moment, I just feel suicidal. And what I done, mind mapped like in school, and I'd put all these arms out, just out. Failure, bullying, I went, right, that's my mind. That's Bob. Let's make Bob happy then. And I just went round each one, and just done each one, slowly but surely processed. Bullying. Need to forgive the bullies now. Go and speak to the bullies, message them, friend them on Facebook. I friend them both on Facebook. Everyone right? Got families now? Yeah, everyone fine. Made my peace there, done. Forget about it. One. And slowly but surely that suicide bubble got smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller but it will always be there. For anyone who listens and they think, oh, I feel embarrassed to have suicidal thoughts, every single person has a suicidal thought. It's always going to be there. So don't feel embarrassed from a suicidal thought. It's natural. It's how we progress things, because again, when we think of suicide, we naturally think that it's like for me, it just makes me know that I'm alive. It's like trying to figure things out. Look, you need to value life and everything. But unfortunately, when we do these things, it's because we're in that kind of zone where it's understanding that relationship, for me anyway. So don't feel embarrassed for it. But then what allowed me then is not to be dictated by my mental health. So now my friend and my ally, and it's my greatest asset now, which was the defining factor for me in being effective for so long is trauma. It's been my greatest teacher. And my greatest teacher is anxiety and depression. And I can categorically say this, where we go on to talk about next and everything. For me, if you say to me 2 questions, as we come towards the end or whatever, is if you told me to come off my medication and you said, come off your medication and live till you were 95 years of age, or stay on your medication and live for 1 year, I'd live for 1 year. Because I could know that within that year, 1, I would be stable. Because I know that there's definitely a chemical imbalance in my mind. Doesn't matter how many coping strategies I do and how many things I put in place. I know in that 1 year I could make enough memories and enough thoughts of helping people around me and leaving a legacy for people, my son, to be proud of. And not only that, for me to feel safe, or to come off my medication and live like I did in Thailand. There's no chance. There's absolutely categorically no way on this earth I could do that. No way. And I think it's having that realization and understanding then of knowing what your body needs and what it's capable of. And I think I'm at a period now where that friend or that ally is with me coming up in the car today. It's still there, but it keeps me safe. And if you would say, and people who listen now to this entire podcast and listen to my story, and now we've communicated today, if you, honest to God, I mean this wholeheartedly, and I really do, if you say to me, would you go through all that again? Fucking 100%. 100% every single bit of pain and agony, for one simple reason. 2 reasons really. 1 is because I wouldn't be the person I am here today, and 2, I wouldn't be in position to help as many people as I am now. If I could do it all just to help that one person, help that one family, that one person who said I helped the family, the mother, and just all that pain for me to get to that point now where I've saved 1 life, I do it again.
It's given you purpose, mate.
That is the word, purpose. And it's a big word that we find. I normally say there's contentment, consistency, and control. I suffer with control at the moment because if I go abroad or anything like that, I need to be able to drive. I don't drink any alcohol. My life, so if people can see now one thing, I got Crocs on. So I take my Crocs off. I always wear Crocs. There they are, in the camera there. I take my Crocs off so I can ground on the floor. I've got a pop-it band on my hand that I wear, so I pop that if I get any anxiety, so I'm taking my mind off. I don't drink any alcohol. I don't drink any caffeine. Make sure I sleep. I haven't been in the gym because my stomach, because I've had to have stomach surgery. But I'm normally in the gym 5 days a week. I meditate. I do mindfulness. My day, I suffer with anxiety every single day. Don't think that, oh God, he's come to realization. I suffer with anxiety every single day. I suffer with the suicidal thoughts every single day. They are all there. But now, they don't fucking control me. I now work, and it's not me controlling them, because then it's a power struggle. There's a really interesting book called The Infinite... no, it's not. It's The Chimp Paradox.
Read it.
Read it?
Yeah, great book.
Great
so book.
You're giving the monkey the banana, and that's all it is. And now I'm working hand in hand with it.
For anyone that hasn't, go and check out The Chimp Paradox. Professor Steve Peters.
Yes.
Yeah. Steve Peters, Chimp Paradox. Go and check it out if you haven't already. Incredible book.
Absolutely incredible. And the other book just come out, it's like the Let Them theory as well, which is
Mel Robbins. Yeah, I've read that.
So it's, again, what I could say to a lot of people is, if you're struggling, there's audiobooks. If you can't read and everything, there's no excuse now to go out there. If you sat there and you were struggling and you were consuming hours and hours of just going through TikTok and Facebook and just feeding that negative wolf and making him just building him up to build this beast, building back up, all you were doing, and I mean this, and you can either hate me or not, you are contributing. You are the ones contributing to mental health, because you need to take responsibility and go, right, there's no excuse not to get in the car, chuck an audiobook on.
Yeah.
There's no excuse to say, right, there's addiction and everything. You suffer with addiction. Just go and educate yourselves. Start, just do one thing. It doesn't have to be big. Just start small. Mine did. It started with literally getting up in the morning, of understanding my mental health, or reading 2 or 3 pages, then an audio book. I went extreme because I thought each their own, everyone's different. But when I literally thought I cannot, and my purpose for not wanting to be in that situation and suffer the way I had for all them years, and it's a long time now when you look at it. Like, since Thailand, it's 18 years, I'm 36, and only for 3 of those years, mind. So for 33 years, if I look at it, I've suffered my mental health. There's been a hell of a lot of good times, but it's been littered with bad mental health times. And a lot of it was due to the ignorance of not understanding my mental health. Whether that's from a letdown from the NHS side of it, from back in 2007 when they didn't know how to help me, or they didn't understand it, or from an educational point of view of obviously not being able to have the coping strategies. But a lot of it comes down to me. If I had taken that accountability stance a lot earlier and said to my mum, I couldn't have avoided the bullying, that's what's going to happen. I didn't tell my mother a lot what was been happening with bullying because, you're living in denial. But I could go all the way back until I was 6. I couldn't stop my mother and father. But what I could have done, when I had those thoughts, I could have turned around and asked my mother, is it my fault if Mummy and Dad splitting up? Never said that. If that she would have said, no, of course it's not, explained it to me, I'd be fine. But I never had those conversations till much later on. But again, all you do, if you have any realisation that you were struggling, it all comes down to what we said, and that's what the name of the podcast is called. It's the talking. Talk. Just talk. I'm you helping, I'd like to think, helping people with mental health. And I think that's where it comes down to purpose. My purpose now in life. And I think my wife finds this very difficult as well sometimes. And I said I struggle with putting the mask on, the overachiever mask. I've now realised, literally since Thursday, this year I was part of like doing football coaching and stuff. And just shows how much I struggle now. And in order, what I want to do, my son's football team, good football team, and I said to myself, I want to be more like a dad, and I don't want to lay you down again. So I said I'd be coach. And then I started coaching, and then they wanted me to do the top license and do my C license and do the first team. And I said yes, because I didn't want to let people down. I want to feel wanted. So again, I'm still going back, even now, still going back into it. And then I wanted to be head then with the wellbeing group, because they were building a wellbeing group for mental health. And then I said, yes, I'll do that as well. So I'd already spread myself thin. And then I'd realised that I couldn't do it all, because my mental health started winding down. And then as soon as I stepped away then from doing the coaching, I know I'd let someone down. So then those feelings then of trying to do more than pumping the hours into trying to have more people online, that then gets out of control as well then, because you're using all your time then to just pump into doing post after post after post of helping people. Your phone is inundated, you're not switching your phone off. And then it's mad, even just up to now, if we'd had this conversation back in July, I probably would have been in that moment now. But it's mad how we're talking about it now, because I finally get into that point where it's that contentment word. And in order to avoid letting the club down again, I purposely ignored group messages, because I didn't want to walk away and didn't want to feel like a failure. And in that process, I hurt a lot of people, because it does from the outside then, it looks as if then you're just being an ignorant fucking prick, and I just understand mental role. And after that then Thursday, after having the conversation with self-worth, I sat down with my wife and I just broke down and just said, and she said to me, and again, for any loved ones who are out there and you've got husbands or you've got wives who struggle with mental health, all you need to say to them, so all you got to say to them is, you're good as you are. Just you. Nothing else. Strip it back. Strip back the job, strip back the money, strip back the kids. All they want is you. You are enough. That's all. You don't have to be anything else. And over this weekend, obviously I reached out and said, look, I'm over apology, I've been struggling and stuff like that. And now I've come to the realisation that my phone now, I put things in place where after 10 o'clock, that's it. I can't help the world. I need to look after myself. 10 o'clock, I can mess people through the day. My family comes first. Spend time with family. help people, come on podcasts, take up opportunities you can. But you are okay as you are. Nobody wants a Superman. Your kids don't want a Superman. They just want you. They don't want anyone else. You don't have to try and prove to be someone else. You don't have to try and prove to be this next big thing or to raise your ego up. You haven't got to prove the abuser wrong, whoever abused you when you were young. You haven't got to prove them wrong. You haven't got to prove the bullies wrong. You haven't got to prove your boss wrong. Just be you. If you want to be a fucking unhappy dustman, be an unhappy dustman. Just be you. Start with you. And if you can find that internal gratification, which has taken me fucking years of mental torture, suicide attempts, trauma, seeing horrific things, to get to a point where I'm finally starting to, I've now got a hook on the wall for the Overachiever mask, and I'm learning now that I can place it there without it coming on automatically. It's having that realization. But for people listening, just be you.
Mate, yeah, absolutely incredible story, incredible advice. Don't stop sharing your story. It's one of the media promoting podcasts, but one of the great things about doing stuff like this today is, yes, hugely grateful you've given up hours of your time driving and hours sat here talking to me, but this will then sit in existence forever. So I always, like with the podcast and the variety of guests I've had on, mentally, to me, I see it like a bookshelf. I see it like, the umbrella of mental health, but I've talked about a variety of subjects with a variety of people. See it as a book, So your book now, your story will go on that bookshelf in the catalogue of episodes that we've had, but that sits there forever now.
It's a legacy.
It is, but your story now, what I'm getting at, is by doing things like this, by sitting on podcasts or your book, you'll be planting seeds that you will never see grow. And they bear the biggest fruit quite often. So there might be somebody that listens to something you've said today that will plant a seed, and it might strike home straight away, or it might strike home in a year's time. And you will never get to see the growth of that. It might just lodge in somebody's head, and they might even think, I heard somebody say about, and it could just be that call to action, whatever it might be, that you're never ever going to know about. But you can, through doing things like this and sharing your story, you can reach the hundreds and the thousands. It's quite difficult. I have to be quite cautious myself, putting myself in this position, because I get a lot of messages and I get a lot of people that reach out for help. I will always try and help people, but I do that through signposting them to organisations that specify in what they do. I have to be very careful not to give personal advice and help myself, because I know that I can't be there for other people 100% of the time, and I would hate to miss the call or the message. You know what I mean? So there is only so much you to go around. You've got to look after yourself, this. But by doing things like this, by sharing your story on platforms and books and documentaries and whatever opportunities come your way, you can reach lots of people, and yet still retain your life, because after today you can go away and this podcast might be listened to by the audience for a total of 1,000 hours, but you've only had to contribute the once, and then that sits there forever now.
And if one person can take anything from a conversation and listening, that's the power of what these podcasts do, and that what books do with information. That's what's really powerful about it, is that. And that's something I battle with, I think, earlier on in the year. You put the book out and you want to do these shows, you want to be out there and doing everything. And before you do it, you're trying to help others, but you're not helping yourself. I think that's why doing like the podcast or doing a book and everything, people can listen to you and can retain information and get as much information. I think that's why durations of podcasts, it doesn't matter, because once you get the story out and you get the information out, people then can listen to it time after time after time after time if they want.
Yeah.
Or they can read, or they can take a little note from it. I like that bit of section.
There could be somebody years down the line, mate. Years down the line, somebody could pick up and listen to this episode in 3, 4, 5, 10 years' time. That's what I mean. It's there now to help people permanently. It can be referred to. It can be referred on. It's a great platform. And honestly, mate, the way you deliver information around mental health is it's exceptional. You've got a real gift.
Thank you.
For it. It's yeah, lean into that, because I think you are making a real difference. But yeah, the way that you deliver the information is, I was captivated. I'll be able to tell this because I haven't spoken a lot. I haven't needed to. I was fully absorbed in what you were saying. And it touched me on several occasions. So I know that the people listening will feel the same.
I hope so. I like I said, I'm not doing it. I think there's an awful lot of people. Now saying with different stories, you can see people what they're doing. There's a lot of people out there who can do it for not the right reasons. I think you can see that's a danger with social media. You can see that. But for me, I think I just wanna make sure that people have got the information, or have got that kind of network. And if people can look at someone and think, fuck, he's like, I said to you earlier, I said, it's like standing in a room naked, right? And hopefully no one laughs at you. If people can sit there and look and go, fuck, if he can do that, I've come from fuck all mind, right? And my story is no different and trauma is measured in different values. My trauma could be different to your trauma. You should never value someone's trauma by how you hold it, because everyone's trauma is different and they hold it to themselves. It could be anything. It could be that time where a cat scratched me, and it can be anything. Trauma is trauma at the end of the day. But if one person can just literally look into it and go, I can do that, that's all that matters, because that's all it's about. It's just about giving people the strength to look at someone. It's not about holding yourself up in high regard and I want to be famous and there's 700,000 followers and all that. I could really be honest with you, I couldn't give a flying fuck. I really couldn't. I don't care. If people want to go and buy the book's called The Forge Within. They're saying therapist is bullshit. If you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't want to buy it,
where can people buy it from, Sam?
On Amazon.
So it's on Amazon. The Forge Within on Amazon.
Yeah, they're saying therapy, this is real talk.
I'll be buying one myself because I've got a tradition. I've had a few authors come in. I've got one of the books of everybody that's come in, so I need yours to add. It'll go. There's a shelf behind where we're recording right now. You'll see there's a few books on there. They're all signed copies of the people that have come in. So I'll be adding yours to the shelf.
And I think that's what it is. I think I'm not in it for. I really ain't. The wife to say to me sometimes, all I want is a simple life, and I don't want anything. I'm not in it for if people want to hear the story, you hear the story. But I've got the point where just being able to speak, and what takes me, like you said, 2 hours to talk through a story, which yes, is still triggering, but it's therapy for me. And it's not therapy, it's just being honest and just talking. And that's how I break things down, and that's how I heal. And if I can do that, but that information that I relay gives someone the power not to in the evening to say to their wife, look, I'm really struggling today. Or to embrace their child and say, I'm going to make sure I protect you. Or not go and do something stupid. For me, that's worth more than having 10,000 followers, 100,000 followers, £1 million, £2 million. It's all materialistic. It don't mean fuck all. It really don't. What matters, especially this topic, is saving lives. That's all that matters. That's the only reason why all of us are doing all this at the moment. We're doing this to make sure that nobody feels alone. And the 3 words to go with that, and I could say it to everyone, right, and it's one of my favourite lines, comes from a film as well, right, from Avatar, is I see you. You're not alone. I see you for who you are. You are not alone, and you'll never have to be alone. You don't ever think that you're going to be alone, because you really ain't. There's 7.6 billion people on this earth. There are people out there who will listen and talk to you, but what it takes a bit of effort to go and find them. That's all it is. And there are platforms out there, if you want to go on the Dad Supporting Dads and be connected there. There's mother platforms, but there is always, always, always someone out there who will listen to you.
Where can people find you on socials then, Sam, in case they do? People that have listened today, if they want to reach out, if they want to give you a follow, get involved in your Dad Supporting Dads network, where can they find you?
Yeah, so if you go on TikTok, then it's just Sam David Wilkes, straight up. And then all my TikTok stuff are on there. I go live on the Dad Supporting Dad communities, which is, I do that on a Sunday and I do it on a Thursday evening as
Are
well.
you on any of the other platforms?
I'm on Facebook. I'm not on Instagram. I probably have got to learn to get on Instagram, I think.
Get yourself on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll have to get on Instagram. So it's all, like I said, all this is all new to me, because I think once I put the message out there, I think a lot of people go, you need to tell your story, you need to tell your story. And then when you've got that self-worth thing, you don't know what to do. But now it's about obviously reaching out. And what's hard when you do it, you're doing it all on your own. So when you do it all on your own, you do the book, you do it, and you go in processes. So like with Facebook, then it's just Sam David Wilkes going on there. It's not under any umbrella of the Forge, but then it's literally, there's my name.
What I'll do, mate, if TikTok's your biggest platform, I'll in the episode description below, scroll down, you'll find I'll put a link in to your TikTok, so they'll be able to get to there. I'm assuming your TikTok's got a link to your book.
Yeah. So when you go to the description, then it's got the underneath my bio, it's got a link. And like I said, at the end of the day, all it is, it's literally just reinforcing the message. If people want to get in contact with me and everything like that, I get back to you a message, because again, it's one message can be the difference between anything. So yeah,
love that, mate. Love that. Massive thank you again.
No, thank you.
Honestly, you've given me a lot to think about myself, mate. So I know it's been a good episode.
Thank you.
Hugely grateful for your time and effort and adding your story to this platform. Just a big thanks, mate. That's all I can say.
Thank you. And like I said to everyone else, just reiterate that message to finish her off. Just be you and just be happy. And just don't struggle in silence. Just reach out to someone, anyone, whatsoever. Reach out to your dog, tortoise, anything. Just don't hold them thoughts in on your own.
It's a good message to end it on. Before we do wrap up, the usual stuff, please like, share, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. And also a big thank you to the Funky Peach, who are our guest merchandise sponsors. So I'll be sending Sam away with a hoodie and a t-shirt and bits and pieces. Anyone looking for any workwear, go and check out the Funky Peach. Other than that, thank you very much for listening, and I will catch you soon on the next one.
Fab, thank you very much.